Oh yeah, oh yeah. 필요할 때 내가 널 지켜줄게. 간절히 바라면 이루어지는 마법인 거야. 운명의 소리 들려. 여기서 저기서 날 찾으며 달빛이 날 비춰와. 시작해야 let's go. 아득한 흘러는 우주 따뜻한 눈으로 감싸는 순간 신비롭게 녹아내릴 거야. 좀 더 기다려. I'll be there. 쓰러지지 마. 끝까지 일어나야 해. 어딜 가든지 극복해. 힘은 너에게 있는 걸. 소리 높여 노래를 불러. 작은 걱정 따윈 던지고 최선을 다해. 작품을 쳐봐. 어둠이 떠 날 때까지 아름다운 꿈을 밝혀봐. 우리에게 달려서 그 세계 운명. 어둠이 떠 날 때까지. 세계 운명. 오랜 시간 간직해온 열망 까만 밤의 별빛처럼 빛나. 네 눈앞에 바로 어떤 나라. 잡을 딱 봐도 superstar. 딱 보면 모두 널 지킬 나란 걸 더 지켜볼수록 점점 빠져들어 카리스마 넘쳐 흘러. Oh yeah. 운명의 소리 들려. 여기서 저기서 날 찾으며 달빛이 날 비춰와. 시작이야 let's go. 아득한 흘러는 우주 따뜻한 눈으로 감싸는 순간 신비롭게 녹아내릴 거야. 좀 더 기다려. I'll be there. 쓰러지지 마. 끝까지 일어나야 해. 어딜 가든지 극복해. 힘은 너에게 있는 걸.
You won't be needing that. A small fortune. You crossed my path! Gotcha!
Hellfire! Hey guys, my name is Ryan Central, and what's the meta? I don't know. Ask Cozy or Moxie or any of the various co-streamers that are watching this tournament. Ask them what's the meta, because in all honesty, I don't really know. It's been a few weeks since preseason ended, and we've had 2 new characters added in, Black Cat and Devil Dinosaur, that are going to shake up the meta, as well as various balance changes over the last season. So I want to use this episode almost this week to use it as a chance to recap what happened in preseason, counting down the most impactful heroes across the draft phase, the bans and protects that we've seen in the esports scene across all 4 major regions and all 504 maps that were played for preseason in Ignite. Let's just go over the top 5, and 4 out of 5 of them as strategists, which is kind of crazy, but one of them is Loki. Understandable he's up here, right? Regeneration Domain is still one of the best abilities in the game, bar none, and no matter what, he always has to be respected in a pick ban phase, even if you don't intend on playing him, because of the fact that he can copy ultimates. Certainly looking at stuff like Gambit, some of the NA teams in Americas going for triple Vanguard to just farm up a Gambit Loki combination and just get those Raging Royal Flushes going over and over again. It really is a case of like, if Gambit or Invisible Woman manage to make it through the draft, getting rid of Loki or protecting him if you want to play around him is good. Invisible Woman actually makes the 4th spot. For like EMEA in America, she wasn't as popular when it came to like pick or bans, but it was like the Pacific and Chinese teams that wanted to make sure that they got a hold of her. But Invisible Woman in her own right, strong healing output, force physics to punish diving targets, to be able to pull them back as they're trying to get away, the barrier that she can give to her duelists to give some healing, mitigation, and basically just set them up to succeed. And then obviously you've got the invisible boundary to play in these tricky fights, put it on your team to protect them, but also as a way to catch enemies trying to disengage, because you can slow them as they go through the radius of the invisible boundary. You can use it offensively, and some teams did try to do that. 3rd place is Mantis. It took a while for Mantis to get going, but her popularity definitely started to surge towards playoffs across all of the regions, most certainly again in Pacific and China, where she was the 2nd most rated character over for those teams. Making sure that you have Mantis or the enemy team doesn't have Mantis basically limits your impact of triple strategist, whether you can play around it as well or not. Damage boost helps. Her ultimate is good in all sorts of situations. You have the team up again with Groot and Loki. It'll be interesting to see how she does now that her damage boost has been nerfed and now she adds like movement speed. I still think she's going to find impact, but is she going to be the linchpin of triple strategists going forward, or is somebody like Ultron going to potentially take that slot away from her? Hard to get a gauge, but Mantis is definitely up here as a strong choice. The 2nd spot goes to Elsa. The queen of the preseason finishes in 2nd place from how much she was picked and also banned. She was like the leading woman. In EMEA and America, she was the most potent character. It's just that Pacific and China, again, would have preferred to put Mantis and another character in that sort of first ban, first protect phase. The percentage damage that she was doing was strong. The fact that Instinct put Helix Advance down to a 2-second cooldown is really strong, and the great CC from her ultimate. Lots of these elements have been toned down. I would be shocked though if she doesn't stay in the top 10 for like the impact here when it comes to stage 1. Definitely expect her to drop, but I think some other duelists might contest her a little bit more. But yeah, here it was just put your best duelist on this character, feed resources into her, and she is going to absolutely feast for you. But there is one character that was a lot more impactful, and that was Gambit. To really highlight how impactful Gambit was, there was basically 1,008 chances to be involved in a draft, and Gambit missed out on 8 of those. There are 8 opportunities that he could have been picked in, and he wasn't. And almost 800 of those were bans. Teams did not want to play him, certainly in Pacific and China, where he was almost consistently in every single game the first ban. Raging Royal Flush providing ultimate charge boost, explosive damage, movement speed means that it was synergy with various ultimates was incredibly strong. And a key thing here is, unlike a lot of the other characters that I mentioned, he wasn't nerfed in Season 7.5 or Season 8. So Gambit still could very much be the top dog when it comes to stage 1 rolling around. It really is just a case of whether the likes of Devil Dinosaur could really start to push for like that first ban slot. I expect him pretty much immediately, but also like Black Cat could have those moments if teams can actually get used to playing her. We'll see how things are going to look for stage 1, but thanks for watching. Ignite the battle, and let's get back into the action. Hey guys, my name is Ryan Central, and what's the meta? Stage 1 has officially begun across all of the major regions, so let's see just how that meta is looking across the 108 maps of action that we've seen in Ignite so far on this patch. From this first week of action, we've got 4 major winners and 1 big loser, and the biggest winner is the king of the meta in preseason, Gambit, who has actually climbed up in popularity. He was the sort of most impactful character in the game at the end of preseason. Not only is he still at the top, he's actually climbed in popularity. He is constantly the first ban, first protect at this stage, and everybody's agreeing on it for the most part. He's been involved in every single draft across all of the 4 major regions, but there are a small group of teams that are trying to splinter away to go for different bans that aren't Gambit, some of these other names on this list as we're about to highlight. And the reason for that is these teams, because nobody's had the chance to practice Gambit because he's constantly banned out, if they leave it open, teams are going to be like, well, we're really rusty on Gambit. I don't really want to pick him, do you guys? And so they're trying to see if they can actually put them on compositions that they're just not well versed on, certainly when people are trying to get the reps in on stuff like Devil Dinosaur. And speaking of Devil Dinosaur, he is the second winner. It's been a roaring success for Devil Dinosaur with him being introduced into the game in Season 8. And he has been contesting Gambit a little bit as a first ban, but really not that often. Like I said, teams splintering away. Dino's been the first ban and trying to one-side it in some cases, because teams just have been prepping a lot on Dino because of how much he has really thrown the meta into a curve. He kind of fits into all sorts of compositions, even though he's just naturally brawly. It seems that you can sort of throw him in and play around him no matter what the map or the stage. So some teams have really started to just build on that as much as possible. It's maybe an over focus or an overcorrection, and some teams have certainly been okay to let the Dino through, play up against it, and actually have good counters for him, such as Emma Frost. But really, it has been like a good standing for Dino. But I do think that that hype is going to drop and taper off over time. I would imagine so, but of course, we'll see exactly how these teams want to play it. The third winner actually is Luna Snow, which is more of a surprise. She's jumped up massively in popularity, and specifically as like a ban option. Teams do not want the other team to be playing it, so they want to get it off the table. In previous patches, her healing and damage output was improved. Stuff like Ice Arts' cooldown reducing when your player that you've put the snowflake on gets an elimination means that you can really just snowball the way that you can keep and contest these fights and keep them going on. And of course, like a team up with White Fox, who's gone up in popularity, not to the same level, but the fact that you can allow like healing cleave and charm cleave and orb enemies off of that with Luna is really handy. It basically means if teams want to go for White Fox, they can. You just want to make sure that that team up isn't available. And the fourth and final winner, it is worth saying that a lot of characters have benefited from this patch, but the major winner, the final one I wanted to highlight, was Black Cat, who is another big addition now that we start to see her actually being played in Ignite. Similar to Dino, she's one of the top protect options for various teams. They really want to play around it. The skill floor is massively high. It's hard to be good on Black Cat, especially in coordinated play. So it's hard to see teams get the most effectiveness out of it, unless you're like Tanuki with some of the gameplay that's on screen. But teams are starting to get a lot better with it, and they have some good plans, and they really want to incorporate Black Cat into their compositions as much as they possibly can, especially because she's pretty decent against Devil Dinosaur, whereas Daredevil can get run down by him a little bit. So Black Cat and Devil Dinosaur having really good debuts in Ignite, but there's one character that is certainly fallen off the list, and that is Elsa Bloodstone. Not only has she fallen down the rankings from being the second most impactful character in the game, she's dropped off the face of the earth when it comes to how popular she is. In Stage 1, she has not been banned nor protected once in any of the regions. Instead, the likes of Phoenix and Star-Lord have found leaps in popularity after their own individual buffs, but I still think that Elsa is underrated. We have seen some moments like Chupio actually having a lot of success with Elsa and some of the other EMEA teams, just when it's appropriate, right? She's still good. She's obviously been nerfed pretty hard over the last couple of patches, but I still think that she's going to be contesting a little bit more. I'm just shocked that she has fallen off massively, but I would like to see that improve just a little bit, just not too much, a little bit. Like I said, there's a lot of characters that have either been benefited or are struggling on this new patch, and we're going to see how the action unfolds as we get more data, but that's it for this time. Thanks for watching, and back to the action.
Show me that you are still the only one that matters for me. I'll be waiting for you. Wait up, open your hands, holding on to your heart. Look inside you. Can you feel it? The sparks in
Hey guys, my name is Ryan Central, and what's the meta? I don't know. Ask Cozy or Moxie or any of the various co-streamers that are watching this tournament. Ask them what's the meta, because in all honesty, I don't really know. It's been a few weeks since preseason ended, and we've had 2 new characters added in, Black Cat and Devil Dinosaur, that are going to shake up the meta, as well as various balance changes over the last season. So I want to use this episode almost this week to use it as a chance to recap what happened in preseason, counting down the most impactful heroes across the draft phase, the bans and protects that we've seen in the esports scene across all 4 major regions and all 504 maps that were played for preseason in Ignite. Let's just go over the top 5, and 4 out of 5 of them as strategists, which is kind of crazy, but one of them is Loki. Understandable, he's up here, right? Regeneration Domain is still one of the best abilities in the game, bar none, and no matter what, he always has to be respected in a pick ban phase, even if you don't intend on playing him, because of the fact that he can copy ultimates. Certainly looking at stuff like Gambit, some of the NA teams in Americas going for triple Vanguard to just farm up a Gambit Loki combination and just get those Raging Royal Flushes going over and over again. It really is a case of like if Gambit or Invisible Woman manage to make it through the draft, getting rid of Loki or protecting him if you want to play around him is good. Invisible Woman actually makes the 4th spot. For like EMEA in America, she wasn't as popular when it came to like pick or bans, but it was like the Pacific and Chinese teams that wanted to make sure that they got a hold of her. But Invisible Woman in her own right, strong healing output, force physics to punish diving targets, to be able to pull them back as they're trying to get away, the barrier that she can give to her duelists to give some healing, mitigation, and basically just set them up to succeed. And then obviously you've got the invisible boundary to play in these tricky fights, put it on your team to protect them, but also as a way to catch enemies trying to disengage, because you can slow them as they go through the radius of the invisible boundary. You can use it offensively, and some teams did try to do that. 3rd place is Mantis. It took a while for Mantis to get going, but her popularity definitely started to surge towards playoffs across all of the regions, most certainly again in Pacific and China, where she was the 2nd most rated character over for those teams. Making sure that you have Mantis or the enemy team doesn't have Mantis basically limits your impact of triple strategist, whether you can play around it as well or not. Damage boost helps. Her ultimate is good in all sorts of situations. You have the team up again with Groot and Loki. It'll be interesting to see how she does now that her damage boost has been nerfed and now she adds like movement speed. I still think she's going to find impact, but is she going to be the linchpin of triple strategists going forward, or is somebody like Ultron going to potentially take that slot away from her? Hard to get a gauge, but Mantis is definitely up here as a strong choice. The 2nd spot goes to Elsa. The queen of the preseason finishes in 2nd place from how much she was picked and also banned. She was like the leading woman. In EMEA and America, she was the most potent character. It's just that Pacific and China, again, would have preferred to put Mantis and another character in that sort of first ban, first protect phase. The percentage damage that she was doing was strong. The fact that Instinct put Helix Advance down to a 2-second cooldown is really strong, and the great CC from her ultimate. Lots of these elements have been toned down. I would be shocked though if she doesn't stay in the top 10 for like the impact here when it comes to stage 1. Definitely expect her to drop, but I think some other duelists might contest her a little bit more. But yeah, here it was just put your best duelist on this character, feed resources into her, and she is going to absolutely feast for you. But there is one character that was a lot more impactful, and that was Gambit. To really highlight how impactful Gambit was, there was basically 1,008 chances to be involved in a draft, and Gambit missed out on 8 of those. There are 8 opportunities that he could have been picked in, and he wasn't. And almost 800 of those were bans. Teams did not want to play him, certainly in Pacific and China, where he was almost consistently in every single game the first ban. Raging Royal Flush providing ultimate charge boost, explosive damage, movement speed means that it was synergy with various ultimates was incredibly strong. And a key thing here is, unlike a lot of the other characters that I mentioned, he wasn't nerfed in Season 7.5 or Season 8. So Gambit still could very much be the top dog when it comes to stage 1 rolling around. It really is just a case of whether the likes of Devil Dinosaur could really start to push for like that first ban slot. I expect him pretty much immediately, but also like Black Cat could have those moments if teams can actually get used to playing her. We'll see how things are going to look for stage 1, but thanks for watching. Ignite the battle, and let's get back into the action.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Hey guys, my name is Ryan Central, and what's the meta? Stage 1 has officially begun across all of the major regions, so let's see just how that meta is looking across the 108 maps of action that we've seen in Ignite so far on this patch. From this first week of action, we've got 4 major winners and 1 big loser, and the biggest winner is the king of the meta in preseason, Gambit, who has actually climbed up in popularity. He was the sort of most impactful character in the game at the end of preseason. Not only is he still at the top, he's actually climbed in popularity. He is constantly the first ban, first protect at this stage, and everybody's agreeing on it for the most part. He's been involved in every single draft across all of the 4 major regions, but there are a small group of teams that are trying to splinter away to go for different bans that aren't Gambit, some of these other names on this list as we're about to highlight. And the reason for that is these teams, because nobody's had the chance to practice Gambit because he's constantly banned out, if they leave it open, teams are going to be like, well, we're really rusty on Gambit. I don't really want to pick him, do you guys? And so they're trying to see if they can actually put them on compositions that they're just not well versed on, certainly when people are trying to get the reps in on stuff like Devil Dinosaur. And speaking of Devil Dinosaur, he is the second winner. It's been a roaring success for Devil Dinosaur with him being introduced into the game in Season 8. And he has been contesting Gambit a little bit as a first ban, but really not that often. Like I said, team splintering away. Dino's been the first ban and trying to one-side it in some cases, because teams just have been prepping a lot on Dino because of how much he has really thrown the meta into a curve. He kind of fits into all sorts of compositions, even though he's just naturally brawly. It seems that you can sort of throw him in and play around him no matter what the map or the stage. So some teams have really started to just build on that as much as possible. It's maybe an over focus or an over correction, and some teams have certainly been okay to let the Dino through, play up against it, and actually have good counters for him, such as Emma Frost. But really, it has been like a good standing for Dino. But I do think that that hype is going to drop and taper off over time. I would imagine so, but of course, we'll see exactly how these teams want to play it. The third winner actually is Luna Snow, which is more of a surprise. She's jumped up massively in popularity, and specifically as like a ban option. Teams do not want the other team to be playing it, so they want to get it off the table. In previous patches, her healing and damage output was improved. Stuff like Ice Arts' cooldown reducing when your player that you've put the snowflake on gets an elimination means that you can really just snowball the way that you can keep and contest these fights and keep them going on. And of course, like a team up with White Fox, who's gone up in popularity, not to the same level, but the fact that you can allow like healing cleave and charm cleave and orb enemies off of that with Luna is really handy. It basically means if teams want to go for White Fox, they can. You just want to make sure that that team up isn't available. And the fourth and final winner, it is worth saying that a lot of characters have benefited from this patch, but the major winner, the final one I wanted to highlight, was Black Cat, who is another big addition now that we start to see her actually being played in Ignite. Similar to Dino, she's one of the top protect options for various teams. They really want to play around it. The skill floor is massively high. It's hard to be good on Black Cat, especially in coordinated play. So it's hard to see teams get the most effectiveness out of it, unless you're like Tanuki with some of the gameplay that's on screen. But teams are starting to get a lot better with it, and they have some good plans, and they really want to incorporate Black Cat into their compositions as much as they possibly can, especially because she's pretty decent against Devil Dinosaur, whereas Daredevil can get run down by him a little bit. So Black Cat and Devil Dinosaur having really good debuts in Ignite, but there's one character that is certainly fallen off the list, and that is Elsa Bloodstone. Not only has she fallen down the rankings from being the second most impactful character in the game, she's dropped off the face of the earth when it comes to how popular she is. In Stage 1, she has not been banned nor protected once in any of the regions. Instead, the likes of Phoenix and Star-Lord have found leaps in popularity after their own individual buffs, but I still think that Elsa is underrated. We have seen some moments like Chupio actually having a lot of success with Elsa and some of the other EMEA teams, just when it's appropriate, right? She's still good. She's obviously been nerfed pretty hard over the last couple of patches, but I still think that she's going to be contesting a little bit more. I'm just shocked that she has fallen off massively, but I would like to see that improve just a little bit, just not too much, a little bit. Like I said, there's a lot of characters that have either been benefited or are struggling on this new patch, and we're going to see how the action unfolds as we get more data, but that's it for this time. Thanks for watching, and back to the action.
Hellfire!
go in if you're not having any follow-up, and now they're just staggering individual.
When the butterflies comes through from Saffron, instantly honing onto Seijiro. Ultimate to overcome it as the legend gets grabbed out just manages to get the invisible.
Used early, actually, from KitKat. Heaven's Retribution trying to go in for the dive. There's not really that much time to work with.
Welcome back to stage 1 of Ignite for EMEA. This is week 2 of the action. We had some pretty heated results go on last go around, but now we're here to lock in, see who's going to have the best chance to make it into the playoffs and potentially towards that mid-season final. I'm Vital, we got Leg Day, and for the first time in stage 1, we got Moxie. Moxie, I'm throwing it to you. How are you feeling to be back on the broadcast?
I am so happy. I'm so excited. We have a whole new meta coming through. Although I say we have a whole new meta coming through, I feel like we don't yet have an actual solid meta. These teams are still trying to work out what exactly goes well with what and where, which in my opinion is the most exciting time because it really is just a race to see who's going to be able to crack the code first.
That's the big question. Who can crack that code first? We have some teams still looking for an undefeated streak to continue. Others that are looking to have a big comeback to keep their playoff dreams alive, and people just struggling to stay in the competition. It's been very intense on the back lines between the battlefield of both of these teams that we'll have coming up in these upcoming matches. But we do got to talk a little bit about what you can earn by watching these streams, and any stream in the Marvel Rivals category on Twitch. We do have those Twitch drops. If you have not tuned in, well, definitely recommend for at least 4 hours to catch all the action and also get that Rogue Will of Galacta costume. You can also get the spray, the nameplate, and the emote. I definitely recommend at least getting the emote, even if you're not going to be rocking the costume, because it is pretty dope. You get to flex on your opponents after you KO them. I think that's pretty good leg day.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, she's got some excellent form. Taking after my name, I do approve of Rogue getting those weights lifted. And honestly, like, the drops have been pretty strong. Like, the Will of Galacta, like, the color scheme works better with some characters than with others. I think that Rogue's in the upper echelons of the Will of Galacta. I think Scarlet Witch was definitely up there as well. When it comes to this particular palette, it's a big one to bring up.
Well, let's talk about the format for those who are just tuning in this week and missed the action last time, to keep you up to date on exactly what to expect in terms of schedule and also the group stage into the playoffs. As you can see, 22nd of May to June 7th will be the group stages, and the playoffs the 2nd to 5th of July. And yes, that does mean that Cyclops Season 8.5 will be played during the playoffs itself, and only Season 8 during the group stages. So new meta, new balance patch. There's going to be new chaos for teams to uncover. I feel like Moxie, a lot of teams might not be as prepared as they would hope to be for that.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of just adaptation. Like, I feel like a lot of these teams are going to be watching all of the other regions to see if someone does something specifically well with a certain composition, and then they're all just going to try and copycat it, because if you let someone else do the work for you, it makes it a little bit easier to be able to move into utilizing it for yourself, since there's a lot of time that you have to take being able to work out these new compositions, especially when it comes to looking at where to apply them onto all of these different map types. And speaking about map types, we've got our newest map in the mix. Lower Manhattan is enabled on the side of our Convergence, although it's not as popular on the EMEA side as it is in some of the other regions.
Yeah, I think we might be the only region, I haven't checked China though, in terms of actually showcasing Lower Manhattan so far. Hopefully we do get to see it this weekend. I'm sure teams, you know, for a last-ditch effort to throw someone off their comfort picks could go to it, and that typically was the strategy that we saw in OCE, and then we also saw in Americas as well. But talking specifically about the ban and protect phase, as you can see, it's not like the MRC or your in-game ranked ones. It's not mirrored bans. If you ban something, it's banned for the other team, not yourself. And if you save something, it's only saved for you, and it kind of goes back and forth in this order, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. It's not just one here that's getting banned, of course. It's just for visual representation. But Leg Day, talk to me about the prize pool that these teams are competing for.
Oh, bans and bans and bans. $200,000 US in total for the entirety of our region, with a champion walking away with 64,000 USD, which is absolutely bonkers. All of our teams will be walking away with a little bit of moolah though. 5,000 for our 9th through 12th place teams, but of course The further you go, the more that you earn. So it's not just you guys who are in Twitch chat getting drops who are earning from all of this action. Also, our players are going to be walking away with some fat stacks.
Reminder, top 3 at the end of the playoffs also make it to that mid-season finals. Location and date to be determined, or announced at least. But still, I mean, Moxie, you know, this is the week where it's kind of put up the results or go home a little left empty, because if you do not make the playoffs, you're going to be sent to the promo relegation this summer.
It's going to be a tricky one, although we can talk about, you know, the fact that there's going to be no reason for these teams to hold off on strategies the way they did in preseason, because, as you said, they're going to be on a different meta for those playoffs. So what we're seeing here is the most locked-in heroes coming through, and no surprises that Dino Black Cat is up there, but I think the Lunar Snow is catching a lot of people off guard when it comes to why exactly we're seeing the strategist used, or at least not used, as recently as she has been. And a lot of it comes down to just the 2 team-ups that she enables. White Fox is going to be seeing a lot of playtime, Emma Frost as well, with the Devil Dinosaur, being able to have that huge wall to be able to break up some of the line of sights of strategists. Keeping their vanguards up can be a real difference maker in terms of being able to find those eliminations so quickly.
She also does so much damage now as well. Like, people were saying she's like on par with Hello, which is pretty crazy to think about too. So not having to deal with that and having the massive healing output that you can have. Also just the mobility of her ultimate, like damage boost is the name of the game for what we've seen with a lot of the compositions, especially, you know, with the Cosmic Iron Amplifier for Rocket Raccoon. There's been some decent plays from that so far. But looking at the group standings here at this point in time, I mean, Moxie, you know, coming into the fold here, any big surprises for you?
Well, one of the big surprises was the fact that Virtus.pro dropped a map actually very early on, and I think a lot of people weren't really expecting for that match to be as close as it was. Na'Vi, we've only seen them once, but they had a very strong showing. And then if you look at Group B, Heretics versus Shikigami, if you look at the way that those teams matched up against each other in the preseason, that was really, really close. Shikigami actually pulled maps off against Heretics, but it was a 2-0 victory coming on from the side of Heretics very early on. So that goes to show that Heretics, they're continuing on this upwards trend, but Shikigami with a 1-1 current history, it sort of feels like they have to try and find that consistency yet again.
Very competitive group so far, and we'll see it go down to the wire even more so throughout today's schedule that we have. I mean, leg day, run us through it. What are we going to be expecting from these matchups?
Oh, absolute carnage, honestly. We once again have Pulsar having the worst draw of all time, VP into Na'Vi for their first 2 matches. And honestly, we've been impressed by Pulsar so far, but Na'Vi is going to be another real test. All of these teams have had another week to scrim and try and find their identities. And I feel like for our teams that are struggling more, that week's going to have been more useful for our teams that are in these more dominant positions like Na'Vi and Team Heretics, where, yeah, they're being able to iterate, but honestly, the teams that have had time to reflect on their compositions and really look into how the meta's evolving are probably going to be pushing up in terms of their power levels, in particular looking for Shikigami to try and figure out their own identity, as we will be discovering a new identity of esports Twitch drops at the moment, Vodable.
Yeah, I mean, you can get that Portal Pool Oopsie spray from the Sentinels energy match that we saw in the preseason. More drops, of course, are coming soon for stage 1, likely for those playoffs, so definitely keep an eye out for that. Like we saw with the Rogue drops, those pretty much only for season 8 into 8.5, so 8.5 will likely have some more after that. But, you know, talking about our first matchup that we have here, Reason Gaming versus Heretics. Both these teams undefeated so far. Reason Gaming, you know, Moxie, I heard you were, you know, talking to the team over there specifically about, you know, what we can expect from them, what their hardest obstacles were. I mean, any insight that you can glean from them to give the viewers as well?
Yeah, so they were most worried about their matchup versus Strays. It was definitely one of the most pivotal in terms of being able to secure enough wins to make it into playoffs. And the fact that it happened so early on meant that, as we talked about, you haven't really had the time to fully formulate where exactly the meta lies. So they came in with this really fun look with this Loki rocket composition, which I think caught a lot of teams by surprise. The fact that Loki is not normally parceled with the rocket. Normally you go for something like an Invis Woman, a Luna, so you have a little bit more meat in terms of being able to go for that God of Mischief copy. But Cosmic Ion Amplifier has been more than enough to answer the problems that teams have faced when it comes to just the damage output that Reason have on their side.
Yeah, I mean, Reason have been looking very solid so far with the change-ups that they've made on their roster specifically. Also nice that they don't have the awkward instability that they had before the preseason stage into stage 1. So they've actually had some time to work together as a team there. But speaking as a team who's been together through thick and thin and now has an old member returning into, the fold for some of their members, Ken joining the roster here. Like, I mean, what can we expect from this team after they had a brilliant showing against Shikigami?
Yeah, integrating Ken doesn't seem to have been difficult at all for Team Heretics. I'm worried about how their identity was going to suffer without Oasis on that Jeff. The off angle on the Jeff really seemed important for Team Heretics, but at the moment everyone's kind of coalescing in around Tanuki, who has been showing off some very skillful gameplay on the Black Cat, which is a very difficult character, but one that can scale incredibly well to the skill pool of these pros. Team Heretics is going to be a brand new level of challenge, I think, for the side of Reason.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Naga as that third strategist role basically as well, playing the Ultron and playing the Mantis, regardless of what's banned, they have a lot of options that they can go for there. It's been interesting too, though. Ken, we've only seen on the White Fox, so I'm curious if that gets banned out this time with Reason against them. But, looking at the head-to-head here, Moxie, between these two teams, comparing their duelist lineups a little bit, I guess you can see with Naga, who's been more focusing on that triple strategist, but Noctis has also been, a good shout, at least for the stage 1, but these are from preseason, are these stats?
Yes, preseason coming on through, which is why Noctra is taking a little bit of an L in terms of the overall eliminations, since he wasn't able to have as much success with his team as Naga did with that Heretics frontline being able to create all of the space for the duelists to be able to work with. But keeping up in terms of the damage output, that just goes to show how exactly concise Heretics team are. Putting in that damage and walking away with more eliminations means the time to get those picks is much shorter. They're not giving their opponent the opportunity to be able to heal through to inflate the damage statistics.
Well, hopefully we see some good statistics from Nocta this go around against a team like Heretics, because you really need to pop off as best you can, especially because of this style of composition that we saw was like the death box, as they like to talk about it, when we interviewed them during the preseason, and just make it a tough time for any team to contest against them. And it felt like they were just the team that was stacked perfectly for that meta that we saw for preseason, and we'll see if it continues. We only saw a single map or single series from both of these teams specifically, so I'm really curious, how the map's gonna unfold for this one, right? Random domination is what we go into for each of our first map picks as well. And I mean, speaking of domination here, Leg Day, I mean, we've seen, such great looks from Heretics in the preseason, and already had it continue into their first match of stage 1.
Yeah, like, Heretics have, they've been impressing so far. Like, we weren't exactly sure where to put this roster. They're kind of like the new Chopped of 2026, yep. Like a bunch of players that didn't quite make it onto other rosters. But Heretics did a great job of scouting them all out. Of course, our first map, as you said, is random from our domination pool, so there's no particular advantage here for either side as we head over to Krakoa. Team Heretics, though, they love domination. This is very much where these fast teams can really gain some real upper hands out of claiming the initiative early.
Well, there is some experience, at least in this meta, for Reason Gaming on Krakoa. They did get a 2-0 victory over Fire Strays on it in their first debut matchup of the stage last go-around. So we'll see if they can have a similar performance against the, Kings of Domination, as we've seen from Heretics, who are playing for the vibes as best they can. And we'll see if that'll be enough to take them forward for the victory. Moxie and the Leg Day, this ban draft is all yours.
Well, the vibes are good, Mox. The vibes are good, and I'm glad to have you back. Welcome back to EMEA. And, well, the audience are about to be reminded why you are the queen of Pick and Ban.
I mean, going back to what Vod was saying, right? The fact that Reason have actually shown tape on how exactly they like to play this map can be both a good thing, but it can also be slightly problematic because it reveals your hand quite handedly about literally what you're going to play, what you're going to ban, and what you're going to look at saving. So if Heretics want to be able to go back and look at that match between Reason and Strays, they can really weigh up, okay, what do we want to target? What are the main staples that we have to remove? Looking at things like the Gambit, looking at things like the Mantis, those ones I feel like are going to be an absolute must, but then you have to branch out a little bit deeper into team specifics. And as we've talked about, well, Reason have been playing a lot of that Loki rocket, so I would be unsurprised if Heretics try to target it out, as there goes the Gambit and the Black Cat coming on through from Reason Gaming. They are not going to allow Tanuki his hands on his new favorite hero.
Interestingly, Team Heretics don't opt into the Gambit Protect after the first ban went through onto a Black Cat. Instead, just really focusing in on that Devil Dinosaur. It's going to be Luna Snow who's next to go. We've seen that she has been protected a lot when she's not been a big feature of the ban phase, but Luna Snow has been coming up banned more often than not.
Oh, well, what do Reason decide to field into now is they've got the Dino to be able to match, so we are going to have that full mirror. The front line is likely going to be both the Dino and the Emma, which again gives reason to like why we're seeing that Luna ban come through, removing one of those team-ups. Being able to make the Emma much more impactful can be something that you have to be very concerned about, and there it is! I called it! They went for the rocket. They knew that Reason based the whole composition previously around being able to play the Star-Lord with the rocket, the additional teleport off of the iframe that you have from the team up, as well as removing that Loki just pushes Reason out of that comfort zone. But it does mean that Mantis is going to be able to get through, and one-sided at that.
Yeah, the Mantis going to be important. However, like there's so much focus in towards the Loki and the rocket. There's going to be a team up for Loki, admittedly. But maybe you play something a little bit slower with the Mantis. You could use the healing walls. We know that the Rose is a fantastic group, but are you really going to mess with that Devil Dinosaur Emma Frost frontline? Kind of unlikely.
I mean, it's probably for Reason now going to have to pivot, since they're running the Mantis, into having a triple strat line with the Mantis Ultron, and then you have to work out what you want your duelist to be. They've been playing a lot of the Phoenix. They've also been playing a lot of the Elsa, but more so when it's in a double duelist lineup. So Reason will indeed go for that solo Phoenix. Nocta going to be playing the Ultron, and there, as we called, is the Emma Dino lineup. So Heretics very much doing their homework, trying to push Reason out of their comfort zone of their specific composition, and now we have to see how flexible this roster truly is.
As the Imp swings lazily, we will be able to get into our first matchup here. It's going to be an absolute barn burner between Reason and Team Heretics, and Team Heretics are hungry to show dominance here in Group B and really show that they are going to be a serious competitor for a spot in an international LAN come playoffs.
I'm concerned about Nocta, though, on this Ultron. There's a reason why Flyers have not been having a fun time. Even Shikigami, when it comes to Convergence, have moved away from the Ultron Torch because of Dino having that grounding effect on the laser beam. So Nocta is going to be very vulnerable, and without a Daredevil to be able to match Tanuki's flanks, you're not going to be able to keep an eye on where exactly the Daredevil plays.
Okay, Ken on the Jeff, going to be interesting here to see how Team Heretics can find echoes of their previous performances in the pre-season without Oasis on their roster. And also interesting to see that Rash is actually playing on controller, another one in the stable, as Enzo is another controller player who's going to be picking up that Vanguard towards the back. Naga's already got Doctor in there. Sights for tracking is so solid. 50 bullets in the clip now, by the way, for the Element Gun. And it's going to be very difficult for Simba to get away. It looks like Alex may have actually thrown the Battle Recall Beacon at them. Get a beacon, distract them!
I mean, Heretics sort of won the ban draft, right? Taking out both the Rocket and the Loki forces Reason while having the Mantis. Yes, if they want to play a triple strat line, let's go to the Ultron. And Ultron suffers against both the Dino, but also the Star-Lord, who, as you can see, is just farming Nocta at the moment. First pick coming on through from Heretics, so Reason don't have the open of that Rage of Ultron for this next fight. Now they have to walk into a sub Tanuki, who can just use the passive, read out where they rotate, and hit him with Beetle.
Simba knows that Tanuki's approaching. This constant paranoia that begins spraying at the nerves of Reason. Tanuki does at least tap them on the back. And for now, Reason keeping themselves pretty well contested when it comes to keeping everyone together. The discipline on position is good. Looking for a Devil's Throw here. Tanuki would love to find themselves a quick slow to allow Enzo to follow up, who's already been taken down, but already brought back by the Battle Recall Beacon. And now it's quick moves moving in from Tanuki. Faced with the Ember Frost shield, maybe is a little bit too much more than they could chew. Naga was 4% shy of their Galactic Legend. And now with most of that damage missing, Reason feel a little bit more emboldened to move forward, and Enzo's down again. Their sentience seized. An absolute masterclass here from Rosa, shutting down the enemy vanguards. And Tanuki at least moves in for a second. They can't turn this one around.
Yeah, great bite as well from Passilo. Sets up the pick onto Beetle so the Cap can't just stall things out. But we've got Galactic Legend versus Rage of Ultron, and the Stall always trumps the Ultron in terms of that one. So Nocta has to be very careful and have a lot of shielding coming on through from Relaxing Sky if he wants to be able to survive the Stall duel.
All right, Naga, good angle here. Wants Simba, instead gonna look towards Noctu. Can't get away that easily. Just sharing out the bullets between them. Relaxing the next one to go down. Tanuki able to turn out on that as Simba takes to the skies. Ensong Inferno impact into the midst of Team Heretics, but they're easily able to heal through the damage that comes on fourth. Ken looking to try and find someone off the back of it. Jeff unable to use it just yet. Nocta chase down again. Naga's so accurate when it comes to these element guns. And guess what, Rash, you are absolutely sunk, mate. The dive comes in, the 3-2-1 rings out across Krakoa, and Rosa can't stand up to the pressure either.
I mean, Reason is still holding on to this point, though. So they can make it costly for Heretics to be able to buy this flip. The question is, how many ultimates will it cost? Because they've got 5 good to go. Passilo falls, and Heretics might just have been able to find the flip off of neutral alone, which is not good news for Reason's ultimate economy. They're coming into this next fight, no Strategist ults, ready to go. Relaxing Sky is going to have to fish for Invisible Boundary, but that's not an ultimate you want to use when you're still rotating to the point and you get hit on early by the Let the Devil Out.
All right, Tanuki fakes out for a moment, using the Devil's Chain. Looking towards the midst of Reason. Where are you going to try and make your incision? Is the question already. You can see that Alex has brought out the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, and that has to be answered by Relaxing. The Invisible Boundary, yes, it's a bunch of healing. Reason still lose Rash through the middle of it, though. The Team Heretics have now lost the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier. Looking towards Beetle and Jeff for a little bit of additional sustainability. Relaxing down on one side and Nocta on the other. Tanuki, yes, is revenged. Well, it's going to be Simba who's doing the avenging for now. Rosa down to just a little bit of HP remaining. The healing is going to be so hard to come by, and Team Heretics seem to be in a great position for this brawl. But without Tanuki to move between these teammates, it's going to be more difficult to try and hunt down the back line. Beetle drags everyone forward. A freedom charge, the sound of a gong that rolls forward. Team Heretics towards victory at 99% and with overtime as well. Nocta opens up a portal, a quick prehistoric chomp onto the counterpart here as Passio and Nocta just chomp at each other, getting themselves some dentist-approved teeth work done. It's Tanuki in the back finding Simba, Relaxing and Passio. They fall down like bowling pins as suddenly it's Team Heretics bowling through the midst of Reason and grabbing the first.
Oh, this first fight on second is going to be so rough for Reason as well. And you get the feeling, like we talked about it before we saw that first fight properly break out with the Stolid into the Ultron, that Heretics got the better of the ban draft here. Reason not going for a Star-Lord ban despite relying on this Mantis Ultron look is not having a fun time, and I imagine like that was their main problem. They just weren't able to get the Ultron to get anything really done. You were missing a whole hero in a lot of those fights. Rage of Ultron, you saw it, you couldn't use it when you knew that there was still Galactic Legend on the other side. You just try and live it off of your positioning and then late Mantis alone, but you lose too many players, you lose the ultimate before it can properly find any value. So I think moving away from the Ultron and keeping the Mantis so that you have the triple strategist, but going towards the White Fox, especially into both the Cap and the Daredevil dive, will be much more beneficial for Reason's team. Oh no.
Oh.
Why is it always Krakoa, Harry? Why is it always Krakoa?
Oh, man. And last time it was Nocta as well.
Yeah.
Reason are always in the game somehow. But Nocta, thankfully, keeps a hold of their ultimate for this one. Simba still has their own Ensong Inferno to work with. Tanuki, he's messed with the ult tracking, you know. Now they don't have the information moving in towards the back. Nocta taken down as they were looking around towards Tanuki. It was Naga who was actually pummeling in with bullets from the element guns. Sparked up as Naga, so can't re-peek into Simba, lest they do tempt fate with the explosions. But the damage is already done here when it comes to Team Heretics. Reason just going to do their best to keep it contested until Team Heretics claim the point by force.
I mean, the fact that they had Galactic Legend is the saving grace for Heretics there. After the spawn use of let the devil out, no, pack it back in, apparently says Tanuki. Ken's got its Jeff, Enzo's going to have the Rampage, and you can do that, use it to try and force Rashid to use this invisible boundary a little bit earlier, because again, reason they're not going to want to actually commit into this fight properly until they have that one built up, then they have to rotate onto point to properly get it to good use. So Heretics can use this to just farm point percentage and hit the backline in the rotation phase.
For now, all about that poke, but Reason have themselves an opening now. Time for a Rampage to move forward from Passoa, where a Team Heretics is going to go to try and disengage from this one. Naga picking their targets very carefully, and Relaxing's gone down. Rashid could not save them in time. Nocta knows there's even more in the pocket if they need it here for Reason, but Tanuki coming down once again, and they're brought back by the Battle Recall Beacon. Over-focusing here onto Nocta. Simba can't get too much off the back of their own ultimate. The Ensong Inferno hits the floor, but Team Heretics not quite so much. All Ken got was their own Daredevil here, as they cannot retreat back towards their healing pool that was left behind. It's an uninspiring use of its Jeff, but still Team Heretics might be able to inspire some confidence here. Moving away from a Sonic Seduction, the pretty lady still tempting, even though Daredevil cannot see them. The sound of her voice is enough, and the sound of Reason's voice guides them towards a point capture.
Great stun CC chain there onto Tanuki. They know that he's close to ultimate. They know they don't have a strategist ult outside of this Kumiho Unleashed to be able to live it. So out comes the Manta Sleep, into the Phoenix Stun, into the full shutdown. But you've only delayed the problem. You haven't fixed it. So have to worry about Galactic Legend being that opener for Heretics to be able to bully this space back. And Reason, they don't have a great answer to it, because as long as you stay out of the distance of the White Fox ult, well, Relaxing won't be able to get any damage done to be able to heal themselves.
Yeah, very reliant on proximity to the opponents. And, well, Naga's not going to be very proximal at all. Instead, just playing a little bit further back. Blocked off by the Ember Frost Shield, temporarily looking over towards Rashid. Up comes the Guardian Shield for a touch of self-healing, but you know who's ready? Oh, Tanuki just gets stepped on by the Kumio! Where was bro going? Oh my goodness, driving the Daredevil right off a cliff. Is going to be brought back for Battle Recall Beacon Resurrection, getting so much value here for Team Heretics in the midst of these fights, as Relaxing gets pulled in, quickly TPs away. A Spirit Sanctuary onto the rest of Reason. Enzo doesn't receive any healing as Passoa manages to win out in the Dino versus Dino clash. Simba overwhelmed. Those two players are diving towards them, has to go up towards the sky and claims their revenge upon Tanuki. Dive me, nah, I dive down onto you. Rose is going to come in with some emergency reinforcements as the Pentagram of Ferala opens, but the fight's already done, mate.
Yeah, you don't really need the Strange Portal in this fight, and that might be something that haunts Reason. Nocta will be back in the fight as well as Rashid. You're so close to the invisible boundary, and Heretics don't have ultimates to be able to force it out this time around. Enzo's going lower and lower. They want to be able to take this Dino out so you don't have to worry about the brawl potential if this fight goes too long. Rampage versus Rampage, potentially. Pass will use this first. Reason trying to find an opening, but Heretics is holding onto both the strategist ultimates, refusing to give any ground.
Oh, Team Heretics now moving towards their own Rampage, boosted up by a Cosmic Yarn Amplifier. Simba can't break it quickly. The Ensong Inferno's unavailable, and so too is Reason's defense. Just absolutely swept off the ball, Team Heretics, with a quick 6k.
73%, not final fight territory, and Heretics did use quite a few ultimates to be able to secure, but you do have the Freedom Charge to be able to act as a pseudo-strategist ultimate if this fight goes long. Reason have to rely on just pick potential off of Mantis damage boost and Nocta being able to stabilize the team with the Soul Resurgence.
There's an approach here for Passaway. forced to teleport away past, so we should be able to get that last second touch for overtime, but Naga's intercepting the remainder of the team. The Squishy members of Reason trying to hide inside of a bubble that Rosa brought on up, and well, Neto's been taken out on the other side. It's yet another resurrection though. The battle recall, but he just gets so much done. You can see the value of that ban again and again. Nocta begins to drag everyone forward. The speed boost of the Soul Resurgence going to get absolute bits done right now as Enzo finds himself overwhelmed by themselves. Letting the devil out here. Tanuki going to be trying to deal with the healing that Relaxing has brought on through, but guess what? The Kubiho is going to have trouble getting off the side of the map. Great play from Jeff, taking down 2, and that might secure it here for Team Heretics. Rosa might have to stand alone against the Meteor. An extinction event for defense. Rosa thinks it might well be winnable. Rashed's going to be back soon, and Rosa needs to try and chase down a target, but Tanuki's just getting so much healing. The pocket's strong as 2 is the target. Focus, and Team Heretics are going to take away the first map.
Heretics using Reason's own strategy against them. Like, the rocket, like you said, every single time a pick comes through, because you're running a triple strategist composition and you don't have a whole lot of damage output outside of your Phoenix being pocketed by that Mantis, if a pick comes through, a lot of it has to be lined properly up for Reason. They have to have the damage, they have to have the angles, and that could potentially take time. Battle Recall Beacon just brings those players back, and they're able to keep fighting despite the Phoenix gaining any opportunity. So, big plays from Heretics. If Reason can try and turn it around, we'll have to see, but we'll come off of ban phase in map 2.
Powers no one can stop us. We are rivals till the end of of Fortune. You crossed my path! Gotcha!
Available now is the Black Cat wildcard costume and the Wolverine X2099. Definitely pick that up in the shop as it is available to you. There's a lot of customizations that you can have with the legendary costume from Black Cat. And I still also recommend the Wolverine one. It's pretty dope. Got a really cool MVP for that too. So definitely check those out. I have my own cat here also. We'll be talking about that a little bit. But we got to talk about that first map, Moxie Leg Day. I mean, for Krakoa, I feel like for the ban draft at least, Moxie, this just was a complete read of the situation that we saw of Reason.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it, right, when we were looking at the map, when we were looking especially at the first fights. Oh, there we go. Hi. That's not a black cat. That's
yeah, it's
more
a
like
gray
a
cat, but
gray.
it's close enough.
Gray or brown, I guess, but she's interested in the cosmetics too. But no, very interested in how Reason try and react into this ban draft, like removing both the Rocket and the Loki, so that even if Mantis gets through, because like we said after preseason, okay, with the Mantis buffs coming out, yes, they divvied up some of the damage boost, but they actually sort of gave speed boost as a accompaniment. Now, if a Mantis or a Gambit makes it for the ban draft, like, you're not going to have a fun time. You might have screwed up a little bit somewhere along the way. But Heretics have been baiting Reason into wanting to have that Mantis, even using a slot to be able to secure the Mantis, and then forcing them to have to play the Ultron, which pairs perfectly into the counter pick of the Star-Lord Rocket combo.
I mean, looking at this as well, talking about the Star-Lord specifically, Naga was the MVP here for good reason like that.
Yeah, 14 final hits and barely ever taxing the heals from a strategist either. You can see only taking 4.5k damage. Alex, by the way, might have a positioning of a god. Like, it's just playing from a stratosphere, 1.2k damage blocked when you're going up against the amount of power that Reason Gaming has is unbelievable. And just this incredibly evasive animal, like this Zootopia backline from Ken and Alex makes it so difficult for Reason to get so much value out of Rosa on the Devil Dino, because you're often having to just fight the opposing vanguards rather than really get in towards that backline who they've got a lot of vertical escapability that the Devil Dinosaur does struggle with. But honestly, it all comes down to Naga just destroying on the Star-Lord. It's got a great matchup against the Ultron, which is why we saw Nocta have to move away from that.
Yeah, I mean, Moxie, looking specifically at this Reason Gaming team, it just felt like they were kind of lost in this composition, lost in the sauce.
You can tell that they got thrown off a little bit by the ban draft, right? Like, if you look and you think, okay, if you're going for Mantis, if you want to play Ultron, if Rocket is through on the side of Heretics, like, looking at that Star-Lord, even though you've already removed the Gambit, is absolutely a call you can make. Star-Lord just got buffed. The amount of ammo that he has in base form, at least in the ult, it still stays at 40, has now gone up to 50, which actually, when you factor back in the auto-reload aspect of the right-click, the Stellar Shift coming on through, that means that when he has all of those cooldowns up, he's actually carrying 150 ammo capacity when he's going up against you, and going up against an Ultron who has very little means of self-survivability if the Solid is up close and personal and you're not able to play around just like cover to prevent that poke coming through. The Solid just farms the strategist very easily, as we saw time and time again.
Especially with the extra ammo that they have available to them. I mean, it's just crazy to see that they become even more lethal in a single clip and able to also have that survivability, as we're talking about with that teleport they have with the team up with Rocket. But we do have to talk about the map that we're going to next. We've had so much Museum of Contemplation. I'm curious if we'll go there again or a different option between these two. And nope, it's going to be the Old Faithful that we saw here last time. And Moxie, I feel like this is kind of a crutch for Reason Gaming.
Yeah, I feel like this is also going to be where we're going to like really have to see how they adapt their composition around the ban draft, because Heretics, while they weren't able to get the Black Cat, they were able to get the Daredevil, and this is a very strong map for Daredevil. Having any flank potential to be able to wrap around those hallways is not a fun time for strategist backlines to have to deal with, and the fact that we're seeing the Vanguards both have to bulldoze against each other with the Devil Dino mirror means that there's not a lot of peel opportunities if someone does worm their way in through those flank routes.
Well, we'll see how things go in Museum of Contemplation. Maybe Reason just wanted to keep the rest of the map data to their chest after this series for the rest of the competition in their group specifically. But this is their turn to bounce back their map pick on Museum of Contemplation. We'll see what strategies they come up with.
Ban draft upcoming soon, Mox. I'm wondering if once again Tanuki's going to be receiving that respect ban on the Black Cat first, which does offer over the opportunity for a gambit to Team Heretics, but we didn't take it last time. Still preferring to go for the Devil Dino, who definitely seems to be the hero of the month right now. He's very strong in that front line, and often is just going to be receiving a bunch of attention. Rocket Raccoon going to be taken out late into a ban phase here, as both teams have prioritized Devil again.
Yeah, so we're getting the Black Cat getting removed. Devil Dino, like you said, going to be saved for both sides. There goes the Rocket, so I imagine actually we might be having the graphics swapped, as I believe Heretics would have much more reason for banning out the Rocket as opposed to the Black Cat early.
And probably have more reason to protect the Daredevil. But the I don't know if we... Yeah. We are going to be swapping over our teams. Thank you, production. Very quick on the trigger for that one. And yeah, this makes a lot more sense. Daredevil, Devil Dinosaur. Nightmare for casting, but very fun to watch.
It's just the God of Mischief, you know what? It's just the quintessential Loki play coming on through that with the late save on the God of Mischief himself for the side of Reason. So they're not allowed the Rocket, but they are still going to have that Loki available. And I think that's going to give them a little bit more like stability to anchor their composition around. I think the fact that it wasn't just the Rocket being removed from last match, it was the Loki as well, who has been so instrumental in a lot of their compositions. You're going to have the regeneration domain, the God of Mischief, to be able to get those copies. And since we have a lot more strategists still up and in the pool, things like the Invisible Woman are a very good copy target. And it allows you to play more into a 2-2-2 role, which is what we saw from them previously on Museum of Contemplation, where we had both the Elsa and the Phoenix coming on through. So you have a little bit more pick potential in the neutral as well.
I'm excited to see if Ken keeps up this Jeff on the offense as well. I think one of the most iconic things about this Team Heretics roster was how they played Museum of Contemplation with disgusting Jeff off angles from Oasis previously, and Ken obviously has a lot of integration with this roster already. He's probably going to be picking up that fairly easily.
Ooh, Nocta. Not on the Elsa, but onto the Bucky. So this is to really try and play havoc against Tanuki. It's a risk when you don't go for a Daredevil Mirror, since he gets a lot more information for you, but Bucky with Bionic Hook is going to be able to try and keep on top of the flank to keep those strategists a little bit safer, as Reason tried to make an inroads and push up, but Heretics have all the space to be able to play with, and there's a lot of damage output from this Phoenix.
Yeah, it was a straight 3-3 split. Enzo moved in a little bit early, or may well have been grabbed in themselves. It's going to be easily resurrected, though. We're still seeing a lot of value off that battle recall beacon. Oh, Naga. Dink after dink, baby. Just managing to take Nocta down off the back of those sparks. And of course, those detonations do afflict the other members of Reason with the detonations as well. So you can easily start to chomp through everybody. The movement of the Loki, pretty strong. The God of Mischief avoiding some of these incoming fires for a while as they wait for Nocta to rejoin them.
This could well just be wait for ultimates and then walk forward when those are ready to go. Like Alex, not going to have the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier up. You will have Ensong Inferno though, so if your Phoenix gets a little bit pressured, and the strategists aren't there to be able to bail her out, you've got the Ensong Inferno for the health reset, or you use it aggressively and catch Reason's rotation. Both of the backline caught on the cross into small room, and that will just be the end of the push instantly.
Yeah, great 3-2 on there from Team Heretics. We saw Beetle move in at exactly the same time that the Ensong Inferno was going to move in, so that everyone was low enough to be one-tapped.
Relaxing will have the God of Mischief, Rashid as well, Invisible Boundary, but Heretics, I fear, won't give them a lot of space to be able to just walk onto the point and use them. Now that you know that 2 of those boundaries are potentially going to be in play, we'll get a little bit of ground for the walk, but that just forces the regeneration domain early on the cross so that Rashid lives.
Good force onto Tanuki. Seems like no resurrection forthcoming this time, but a recall beacon may have been a little bit late or a little bit too far away. Naga falling low, but Simba takes a while to hit the shot. There's the detonation to get rid of all of the damage that was on display here from Team Heretics. Now it's all about trying to stall out the cart, waiting for Tanuki to return with that release of the Devil. Nocta, the Rottester, managed to hit shot after shot, chasing after the Daredevil. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of space here for Tanuki to work with, and Ken deep in the back line to offer over some of that healing. Please let's move on to a point. Giving contested. Hensong Inferno strikes down from Simba, but doesn't really find any targets, nor does it find the Cosmic Yard Amplifier, which Alex was keeping into a back pocket. And now it's going to be the Devil. Unleashed, boosted up, having to get through these regeneration domains first, which is a good amount of room.
Oh, no.
The cart, guys.
Yeah.
Hello, Team Heretics, for discipline.
Oh, they were so disciplined earlier as well, because they were punishing the fact that Relaxing invests God of Mischief early, which forces you then to be bound to the timing window of using the actual ultimate. So Heretics just waited for it to end, for the boundary to be used, and then had both the Daredevil ult and the Cap ult good to go after. But now we've got the Ensong Inferno. Frantically tried to be broken, but just not in time. It impacts onto the ground, it impacts onto Relaxing, and yet again, Reason losing that backline to just not being able to burst the Phoenix ult down in time. That means they lose control of all of the space. This is where teams get stunted fully out on Museum of Contemplation, and you can see that they're trying to prioritize damage output now. Simba sticks with the Phoenix, but Nocta feels onto the Elsa to try and tear through this front line.
You stopped them in their tracks.
Naga's got themselves a very commanding presence here on this lane. Is going to be losing out on that cover rather rapidly, though. Say farewell to Relaxing, and it's far from a relaxing experience to have Naga just pounding you down from a distance with the Phoenix accruing these sparks. Maybe a little bit too far out here for Pasuo as Rash finds himself uncovered. And it might be a rampage from Enzo, which seems like a bit of an overcommit considering the damage that's already been done. In the end, though, results are results.
Oh, but Harry, the stall. You just bled 3 players back to back to back, 2 of them being strategists, 1 of them being vanguards. That has bought you almost a minute now off of the clock because Reason just can't push without those crucial rolls ready to go. And Heretics, that's given them the opportunity to build these ultimates back. They had none. Now they're going to be coming into this next fight almost 3 strong.
Okay, here's the Elsa coming through from Nocta. Trying to get rid of Beetle off that angle. Tanuki looking to try and find themselves an opening here, but might have to settle for just dealing with the poke at the moment. We haven't seen as much of Simba on the Daredevil so far, but the backline's now in danger. Here comes the Devil's Chain. Beetle's already starting to get it working on Rashid, and Tanuki is going to be running low on targets because so many of them have already been taken on down. No mercy for Nocta nor for Rosa. As Reason, Mox, you talked about it. This is just such a difficult area to break.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that they know they had no angle control, so they can't go for the Phoenix 1v1. They've got to try and go for the Daredevil and hit onto Heretics' backline, occupy Tanuki, put pressure on the backline to try and force Heretics to have to give up the aggressive hold space and pull players back, because at the moment, Reason, they're an exhibition in Museum of Contemplation. They might as well be behind bars with the amount of space that they have to work with.
Well, Naga not going to be able to split any bars out here. Actually just finds their ultimate destroyed by the focus fire of Reason. A triple stun, by the way, off the right click. Disgusting stuff on a tightly packed roster.
Oh, not
already
again.
using the God of Mischief. That's going to claim a little bit of space as the invisible boundary is drawn on up, and of course slows any members of Team Heretics who are left behind.
But it's so telegraphed. Heretics hear the Loki ult go out, disengage so they don't get caught out by the slow, wait for the 8 seconds to be done, and then come back in again when they know that Rashid's got the only invisible boundary to put the pressure onto him and force out early.
Huge amount of pressure going forth onto the Invisible Woman, brought out now by Rashid. That is going to keep Simba temporarily healthy. Out comes the Sonic Seduction, this time from Rosa, looking for targets, but no one's really going to present themselves. It gives over a little bit of additional space to Team Heretics as they manage to move away Tanuki towards the back now, letting the Devil out for a generation. The main will not asked for long, and despite Relaxing's attempt at duplicity, you can't get one past Tanuki. Bro is using 100% of his brain right now, and Team Heretics should be able to hold on second as Reason are having trouble recontesting.
Oh, I think can't stop the strange TP. Nope. It goes through in time. One person gets through onto point, but there's no answer. Like, Reason will be able to touch, but they won't be able to get the cap or the eliminations to secure second checkpoint. And again, like, it happens on first, and Heretics don't get as much punishment as they're looking for because no one actually steps onto cart and keeps it contested. But it happens again on second, and that time, they know. They hear the Loki voice line, they know the boundary will be have to be used, or you go the whole duration of the Loki copy without actually committing to it and get booted out of the form back into the back into the Loki himself. So it's so simple for Tanuki to just be on the outside of the fight, have to let the devil out, wait for boundary to drop. It's just a game of patience. And very quickly you're walking away with a second hold on Museum of Contemplation, line drawn in the sand. Reason have to be able to hold Heretics off, or they go down in this series 0-2.
All right. This is not unwinnable, though, for the side of Reason. And Beetle leading the way so far with the ace. 14-0.
I mean, so many of Heretics' side are and 0 when you tag along that casualty line. 3 of their players not going down, most of them being the backline, 1 of them being the cap. You can start to see why Reason struggled so much being able to claw back that space on second hold.
All right. Done by Deadpool. Age 31. The Batsmobile starts moving as Beetle is already starting to instill that paranoia in Reason. Work around the outside. Nice, well, this is a very early fight here from Reason. They've just made sure to absolutely out-rotate Team Heretics and go straight to point.
Well, you have Adam, so you have Soul Bond advantage plus the Loki, but Heretics, they see the Adam, they see the Loki, they know that it's a free, and look at the swap instantly. Moon Knight, and almost instantly, Hand of Conchu, 72% charge.
Yeah, that's gonna, in this tiny area as well, it's gonna be absolutely brutal. Everyone's just pinned into this small zone. You see that the greens have already been used for regeneration domain. It's not gonna be able to save them from the Hand of Conchu as Naga starts building it up 99% and all. In the tiny area, Conchu's will is very much made manifest.
Oh, that's painful. Reason, they knew that they wouldn't be able to win it. It's simply a stall out. As Passwo on the Strange will look to teleport the team into this place. This is just about getting as many fights as he possibly can to stall Heretics' approach and just burn them out of time overall.
Waiting for Relaxing to emerge, and you know Loki's going to be the primary factor here, getting rid of it. Oh, even through the Soul Bond, by the way. Relaxing didn't have a chance to use the regeneration domain. Not a single green in sight, and as the portal moves away, the remainder of Reason are in Struggle City right now. They're being chased down by the melee, and, well, back to the drawing board.
Yeah. It's going to be now just trying to get this Adam's res back into the mix. You've got the Adam, you've got the Loki, but Heretics, as long as those two stick around, will be keeping the Moon Knight. Nocta at least still has the self-res, so you can try and feed some of these players into the blender. Burn Heretics' ult charge and then come back with the double res, try and hold them off at the pass.
All right, can you get the focus here onto Rashid? A lot of space has been claimed by the Eternal Bond. Tanuki unable to try and drag Rashid out of that one, and so Team Heretics give us a bit of space.
Here we go. Reason double reses up Heretics though. 6 ultimate strong to be able to keep pace with the amount of players Reason can cycle this fight through. Already forcing out the Soul Bond, relaxing with the first usage of the ultimate potentially is Ken with the It's Jeff. Decides not to go for the Loki as they catch on to Nocta. That's going to force the self-res if they want to have the Comic Revival still in play, because relaxing went for the copy on CD with Eternal Bond instead.
Yeah, Nox just going to have to resurrect themselves here. The Comic Revival on the back foot. He's going to bring back multiple members of Reason, Simba, Rashid, and Relaxing all rejoin the fray, but Naga still has this untouched position. Extra damage coming through. Even Alex is getting stuck in. The Rocket Raccoon, not a healer, a strategist, by the way. So much damage being punched on out. Recently buffed, actually, in Season 8, and Alex is making sure the deadliness of Little Mammal is very much known. Team Heretics, they took their time with it, but they do manage to get through first.
Oh, Tanuki has let the devil out as well to snowball this next fight. They know that Rashid is going to be close to Eternal Bond. They don't want to lose a fight and lose all of this space to work with. And Speedle with that freedom charge as well allows Heretics to hold their aggression up, but Nocta actually this time swaps onto the Ultron because there's no Star-Lord. This player around to try and punish him.
Yeah, maybe we'll see a swap over onto that from Naga after using their next hand of Khonshu. But for now, a little bit of an advantage to the side of Reason. Simba tries to take that advantage away, as it is going to be an early mugging onto Naga. Nowhere to go when faced with a Daredevil. The attempted return here from Tanuki, letting the Devil out himself. So many players going to start being debuffed. Ken's getting involved here. A joyful splash is all that they need, and it's Nocta who's going to be tempting it. I just hear an Eternal Bond. Yeah. It's going to be too difficult for Nocta to get there. Can't get down from the ceiling because down below there's just a yapping dog at the bottom of a tree. I want to get that postman. I'm going to get him.
He wants uppies. Nocta at least still is alive, but like you said, Reason used the Eternal Bond. They've got one more fight looking to regroup. They have to worry about Beetle though, holding so close, wanting to put the pressure on the backline because there's just no opportunity for the Vanguards to be able to peel him off. They have to focus instead of holding the objective, so the Heretics don't just continue to push. Regeneration domains already forced from Relaxing. They still lose Rashid even off of the back of investing their cooldown, and this is just looking for a cleanup for Heretics, especially with two ultimates. They're good to go.
Now there's only one fight in it. Ken might try to play this one safe. Just going to try and chase down the Daredevil. Good LOS to move away here. Coming through from Simba, but Tanuki is untouched in the back. Just able to run them all down in conjunction with Beetle. What a duo they are. You have to worry though. In comes the rage of Ultron. Needs to be focused down. Nox is going to be doing so much damage, so much healing. Tanuki just dodges away from the incoming fire as Naga gets something done on the margin. Simba taken down, and Rosa finally finds the Daredevil. The chase down is solid, but the resurrection's there from a battle recall beacon. It's still anybody's fight. Rose is down. Relaxing has himself a God of Mischief, but can they find the LOS? Seems like it's not going to be available. Rashid and Relaxing are both down. Team Heretics have even more damage courtesy of the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, and the pain is made manifest here for Reason. Rosa cannot open the portal, and Team Heretics dominate 2-0.
Heretics sweeping the victory. Reason look like they might have been able to stabilize off of how close their respawns are to the second half of second on Museum, but a brilliant Cosmic Yarn Amplifier coming on through on the side of Heretics, just having that damage to blitz down Relaxing so much faster, I think, than a lot of the players were expecting. Does not get the opportunity with line of sight for a good God of Mischief copy, goes down with the ultimate still in hand, as Heretics saw these opportunities, these little mistakes that Reason were making, especially when it came to the investments of strategist ultimates, and knew exactly how to punish.
That's the tough thing here, is like, it felt that Heretics, and credit to Lime Bro or whoever it was that was doing the ban draft for Heretics here specifically and kind of advising them on it, and we'll probably hear during an interview about it specifically there. They just had a complete read of Reason throughout game 1 and game 2 here, specifically because Rashid, as we kept talking about them on that strategist lineup, all that they played in their one series that we saw from them last week was Rocket, and that was taken out both times, and it just felt like they were lost trying to play triple strategists. That wasn't their identity leg day that we saw last time. It felt like Nocta was just in an odd role this time, trying to play the triple strategist role for his team, and it just didn't quite work out.
Yeah, definitely knocked off balance by the priority that Rocket was getting, because like in the current meta, Rocket doesn't really have the presence to be a first protect, right? Like, you need to have a Devil Dinosaur on your team, and the Devil Dinosaur is like incredibly important against Team Heretics as well, because having Rosa on the Devil Dinosaur means that Tanuki can't be as audacious with these melee duelists, right? Like, you need to be a lot more judicious with your positioning on either the Black Cat or the Daredevil, so it's not like you can leave that on the table. But it meant that Rocket Raccoon was constantly getting all this attention in the ban phase, and Rashid was maybe forced to play something where he hadn't scrimmed as much. Obviously, like being a pro strategist, is going to have thousands of hours on these characters anyway, but recently the scrims for Reason might have been leaning a little heavily on that strat.
Yeah, and seeing, you know, the Heretics bounce back here even after a bit of a tumble from that first checkpoint, Moxie, this is just kind of the expectation we've come to know for this Heretics roster, is that they can lock in whenever it matters.
Oh, they locked in on that second point defense. Like, bleeding out 3 players from Reason. Harry even talked about the fact that they invested the Rampage coming through from Enzo, but the time stall that they were able to get more than made up for it, and also allowed them to hit much more crucial ultimates for both their duelists and their strategists for when Reason were eventually able to try and break through with a little bit of space coming off of the swaps. Like, they gave up on trying to go for the Phoenix 1v1 because it wasn't a fair Phoenix 1v1. They were always having to contest the rest of the team, as well as the Guardian Shield daggers coming on through from Heretics' backline to keep the Phoenix in play, and it forced them to have to give up a lot of that poke pick potential, which meant that they didn't have a real good answer to just finding those picks, having good ultimate investments to guarantee fight wins and break through the time that Heretics would be able to stall out.
You're playing Daredevil for Simba, and you see both of the back line not going down once, playing the hero that, you know, recognizably from the pros say is the counter to Jeff. I mean, gotta give the credit where it's due for Ken specifically. Left a lot to be desired from their play on FlyQuest before, but now that they've locked in with the Jeff here, with, you know, that Zootopia backline that we talked about, like, it seems like a different ball game for this team and fitting right in like where Oasis did before.
Yeah, it really feels like Ken has been a great well, like, Team Heretics, they know Ken very well.
Yeah.
But he's been able to pick up that Oasis role. We saw a great 3-3 split from Team Heretics on their defense, where they were playing like the Beetle, Tanuki, Ken, and the Enzo, Naga, Alex kind of split. Reason Gaming did do a pretty good job of, like, trying to mess with that 3-3 and take some unfair fights, but in the end, Team Heretics, they were so good at just playing these annoying angles, and 3 members of their team going without a casualty in like such a long game. 12 minutes of gameplay is insane.
That is pretty wild, especially Beetle. I mean, shout out to them, you know, the Captain America that we've seen in EMEA cannot be undisputed there after we've seen their performance. Maybe you need to focus on banning that out. I mean, we saw that for a lot of teams against them in preseason, but I feel like there's so much to focus on this go around, specifically in the ban and protect. But to talk to the man behind the team, it's Line Pro that we have for our interview for Team Heretics. Welcome in, man. Congratulations on your team's read. And I just want to know, how did you have such a soul read in the ban draft against Reason?
Hello, thank you. Honestly, I think we had our hardest match. Like, to be honest, I'm surprised. I think Reason is playing much better than we expected, and they have their own play style, and we just watched, like, they only had 1 game and we watched it, and they're just playing fully front to back, and we think one of the reasons they were finding success is Raccoon. And we know they're not the type of team that might play dive. So we were not so much worried about if they dive us or not, but we still have, like, a lot of anti-dive heroes open, and we just thought, hey, they're getting a lot of value of Raccoon, they just ban Raccoon, and I think it's just gonna work for us. We didn't really think about it that much. We just wanted to disrupt their playstyle, basically.
What's the ethos behind the, like, double animal backline, like the Jeff and the Rocket? What does that achieve for a composition? Because you guys got a lot of value out of it today.
I mean, I think with their draft line, they're banning Gambit, they're banning Luna, but there's still, like, so many supports open. And, like, right now, let's say Naga's out of jail, right? He doesn't need to stay on the triple support, especially when they're not diving.
Yep.
So we just, like there's honestly, I think we can swap the Jeff, we can play other things, because there's, like, so many things open. We can still run a composition with triple support. It's just, like, there's nothing really that can mark our Jeff. He can still play it front to back and just stream the dinosaur and, like, give him speed, and, like, it's killing my dino at the same time. You know, something good about Jeff, it's if the enemy dino grabs your dino and then body blocks him, you're not hitting him because he's, like, body blocking the kills with his body, right? But then with Jeff, it goes through everything, so your farming goes really fast. It's good into dino. I don't think it was something planned. I think we could have played something different and it will still be great. I don't even think Jeff might be the best hero to play here. We just thought it's good, and that's it.
I guess from my end, like speaking to someone who works a lot in the back end, looking at like the comms, looking at the meta, do you think that the meta's been actually solidified in the week that we've had now that we had week 1 coming into week 2? Or do you think that teams are still trying to find that feed?
If I have to give an honest answer to that question, that would be way too long. So I'm gonna try to make it short. I don't think there's ever gonna be a meta where it's solidified, because this is just rock, paper, scissors. There's a counter to any draft. Like, you can put any draft possible. Like, let's say all the players play every hero, and you just do any draft. Every draft has a counter, like everything, but you just have not thought about it. I was actually making some calculations about this the other day, and if there was only 10 heroes to consider in the draft, there would be 3,006,2,700. I don't know how much. Like, it's like more than 3 million. So there's no way you can be prepared for every possible draft. So I don't think there's ever going to be like a solidified meta. It's just the way it works. There's always counter to something. You just need to figure out what are they playing for, what are their strengths, what do we want to play for, and you draft for you want to play for, and that's it. I don't think it's ever going to be. And every season it's going to be even worse, because there's one more hero to consider. It might be good. It might be meta. Balance changes, new team ups. So yeah, I just think every weekend, probably even every day, you're going to see different heroes being played. Right now, obviously, Dinosaur seems strong and is the new hero. Everyone wants to play it. I don't think anyone knows how strong he actually is or not. Like, it's just, you don't have the time to try and test every possibility, you know?
That's how it goes. You know, don't have the time to try everything. Well, thank you, Line Pro, for your answers and insight. Congratulations on your win, the only undefeated team, and also recommend picking up that Heretics bundle in the shop itself. But we'll talk to you a little bit later. Enjoy your win.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was Line Pro, man of many words and insight, and, you know, goes to show that you can't learn everything about the ban and protect phase, because there's so many different combinations that there can be. But we do have our next matchup that will be coming up. It's going to be Shikigami versus Fire Stray, so definitely stay tuned for that one. Next match will be coming up in just a little bit, but we're going to be taking a 5-minute break afterwards. We'll be back with that matchup. Don't go anywhere. Power is unleashed. Welcome to the Alchemex headquarters. Available now in-game, a new Doom map match that you can play there as well. There's some cool like quirks to it too. You can do like a rhythm game to get your ult charge up. You can explore, you know, the different wanted levels of, I guess there's a 2099 Miguel O'Hara version maybe of Spider-Man, who knows. And then also Moon Girl, of course, you can interview or interact with there in the map itself. But let's talk about the teams here, leg day, for our next matchup. Shikigami versus Fire Strays. What can you tell us about Shikigami?
Shikigami looking to recapture their identity after a slightly rocky first week. We definitely know that this team has a lot of stopping power amongst them. They had a very successful preseason, I think outstripping all expectations we had of Shikigami. Definitely Isidore and Kaya earning a lot of respect as a Vanguard line, and there's a lot of focus on that at the moment with Devil Dinosaur really coming to the fore. For me, though, the player to watch here is probably going to be Leolaz, with how much strength we've seen in Star-Lord recently. Leolaz is a fantastic Star-Lord player with a tracking that is not to be underestimated.
I mean, looking at their history, they did really well during that preseason, as we talked about, but Heretics just seemed to have their number. They also struggled a little bit more than expected against Crownfall, so hopefully they've, taken their time during week 1 into week 2 to adapt and adjust and overcome as they need to. But speaking of a team that, we did see that from them in the preseason was Fire Strays, Moxie.
Yeah, Strays, I think, had a sort of similar problem to Shikigami in that in their first few matches in Stage 1, they've been stumbling around trying to work out what exactly they want to play and where, especially when it comes to this Vanguard line. Like Black Sow, Binary, both of them interchanging between who plays the Devil Dinosaur so that you don't always get the optimal frontline of the Dino plus the EMEA. But they really clocked onto a solution when they matched up against the Chosen Ones. I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more of this standard Groot Dino lineup coming through from their side too, so I wouldn't be surprised if Shikigami decide to directly target it when it comes to the draft.
Well, speaking of targeting each other, we saw it go down to the wire in the preseason playoffs all the way to map 5, so leg day that Fire Strays want their revenge here.
Yeah, a lot of vengeance to be claimed. Fire Strays, they really were playing out of their minds in that series. And Shikigami, they were able to really grit their teeth and make it go through all the way to the end. And of course, we're not going to have a best of 5 here. It's only a best of 3. So the room for mulligans and iteration is a little bit tighter than in our previous bracket play.
Yeah, Burnin' T'Challa coming out this time too for both of these teams as well, and neither of them have played it in this Stage 1. So yes, it is a bit random of a map organization, but the teams do know what the map is ahead of playing the game itself, so they can prepare different strategies for it, which is nice. So we'll see, as we go into Burnin' T'Challa. We've played this one a lot, last weekend, and I feel like for this matchup, Fire Strays, they just have a chip on their shoulder that they need to carry forward and eventually make it to a diamond. And hopefully that will be enough for them to shine bright against the odds of the competition that they're facing. Because Shikigami, yes, they took the win, but it was a very close affair, and they looked like they were struggling a bit against Crownfall. So both teams looking for a bit of a resurgence and a comeback victory here to start off strong on week 2 with a win in their books.
Fire Strays might have a chip on their shoulder, but they've got a twig there as well, Mox. As you outlined, definitely Groot, a huge part of this team's identity. Black Soul is a fantastic Groot player. And the question is, with that information now in the hands of Shikigami, having obviously watched all these VODs, is Groot going to feature in our band draft at all?
Well, at the moment, we can see that these teams are flying through, which tells you basically that everyone's coming in with a very specific plan. We've got the Gambit instant ban going on through, the Rocket ban actually coming out from Shikigami second. So again, it sort of feels like these teams, they're trying to push players into actually putting the Mantis into the field to have that Ultron, have the Rocket, have the Star-Lord, to be able to directly act as a counter to it. With Shikigami also going for the one-sided Phoenix, a lot of teams I know have been floating the idea of Phoenix as opposed to Star-Lord as a counter to the Ultron because she is hit scan. But the fact that we're seeing like all of these very, very quick decisions basically tells you that these coaches, these teams, they knew exactly what they wanted when they headed into this draft. This is all tailor-made to their opponent.
Surprised to see Fire Strays not protect the Mantis here, considering it was available at the time, and Shikigami are going to take that away to make sure that you can't get the triple team up. The vibrant vitality that Mantis gives to both Groot and Loki. Admittedly, Groot and Loki not quite as good on domination as they are on other maps, simply because Groot and Loki both they're fairly they're slow individuals. They like to fight from a defensive position. They don't like to fight on the move as much. They like to have setup time, which often being into T'Challa's not going to give away to you for free. But I think Luna's in a good place right now where you can really support an off-angler by putting the flake on them and just healing the dinosaur, because he takes like a more billion damage at a time, which means you can send out 2 more billion healing.
Well, you also get the Luna through as well, thanks to that save, which means that Luna will have the EMEA team up fully enabled if they decide to field for it, because both of these teams, they've liked to run these dive splits. Sometimes full dive, if you have a look at Shikigami's history, by being able to run both Kaya and Eastor Venom and cap potential picks there. But more often than not, now in this meta, it feels like with the Dino Mirror having to be in play, if we see any form of dive, it will be a variant with like one of your Vanguards going for something like the Venom or the Captain America. as we get ready to head into the first round. What is Shikigami going to be rolling out with? It is indeed the Star-Lord, but they've got the rocket for that damage boost potential as well as the teleport team up, as opposed to poor old Sloppo, who has to go into the 1 versus 1 while his opponent has an extra iframe. That's just not fair.
Yeah, it's unideal here for Sloppo. Does not have the flake from the Luna either. I believe that will have gone the way of Damon to try and make sure that they a little bit more audacious with their attempted robberies. The Binary going to be able to cover these off angles well using the Dual Desert Eagles. The hit scan of the Deadpool is difficult to try and deal with, and that does force Frost Mountain into a more easygoing position, not taking too many risks. Bubble barriers soon to be dissipated. Frost Mountain starts to work the margins using good cover here to make sure that they aren't going to be taken out too early. With Papadopoulos already having gone down for fire, their pressure onto the Devil Dinosaur is going to be somewhat limited. Isidore can be a bit more brazen with their maneuvers. Lindstrom's ice arts pierce through multiple players, and well, that is going to be an easy pickup here for Shikigami in the first fight.
Oh, Strays tried to hinge that first attack on the fact that Binary would have the first ult on the board with the Vanguard Deadpool, but gets taken down, which then resets the full charge back to 0. Snos 2 swaps off of the Jeff, goes on to the White Fox so that you have a little bit more counter potential against Kaya on the Venom, who's already been able to build up 84% to that first Feast of the Abyss, potentially even getting it online even before Cap gets the Cosmic Gun Amplifier. So this Venom is not just disrupting the backline, it's also picking players up too.
Yeah, Frost Mountain having the Lunar Flake as well definitely changes the calculus of how you try and take these matchups as a Star-Lord. You can see this constant damage, or this constant attention going towards Damon on the back, who makes these DPS turn around again and again. The Duelists waiting to try and unleash their ultimates, but now Frost Mountain just wants to try and control the high ground, falling low in their own right. And that's going to be the Feast of the Abyss, unavoided so far. Multiple players debuffed by Kaya. Someone has been hit by the challenge of the Deadpool. Binary doesn't seem to have gotten too much off the back of it. Now it's Frost Mountain's turn to counter-strike. Counter-punching over towards Damon, who's going to have so much trouble evading that. Straight into the stealth though. Great usage of the crown to avoid the attention of the Star-Lord. And Slopodopoulos can now try and turn this one around in their own right. Isidore begins the rampage, looking towards the squishy. Slopodopoulos is going up against so much damage though. All of the ultimates at a singular time. Closer evicted and faded both towards the side. In this case, by Leolas, who gets boosted up with the damage to the end song Inferno, and even more finds Damon, plucks them from the void.
That's last fight. Fire don't have anyone really who's going to be able to properly try and get past to go for a strange TP. So you can see Sloppo now going for that play, but maybe stunned by Leolas. No, the body block is good. Strays will be able to get through. They've got both the Black Cat and the Dino Ultimate. Shiki don't have Stratus ults to be able to sustain through it, but what they do have is presence on point with Isidore just grabbing a player up. Demon trying to backtrack into the back line, gets the hit onto Leolas with the ult, and this is Strays potentially spiraling the fight away from Shiki when they don't have the ult to be able to stand up to the pure damage output.
Calling card resets incredibly strong here, and multiple players disengaging down the same path meant that you could just rake through all of them with the claws of Damon. He's not going to be able to find a reset here unless they want to be incredibly audacious, but just going to play it safe.
Well, Shikigami now, one fight territory between just taking this round. They can take that time, put up some of these ultimates. They don't have to go instantly, especially because you're not really racing for a strategist ult. Like, you don't have reason to send Kaya to use Feast of the Abyss before Closer has the ult. He's too far away from it. You have to worry about what Binary can do potentially on the Vanguard Deadpool, putting the pressure onto Frost Mountain with the Banhammer, but just in the dive alone. They set Leolas to have the angle onto the Lunar, and Strays now relying on the White Fox heals. It's not going to be able to keep the team fully intact when Shikigami decides to get aggressive.
Yeah, Trade's no good either. Cat manages to avoid all the damage coming her way. Isidore's just chomped through the entire Vanguard line, and Damon's not going to be able to do this one alone. Yeah, the Kumiho could be unleashed here by Zenost, but it might be a little bit foolhardy to try and make that one happen, considering there are still some legs in this map. The return of Kaya is going to potentially shut down Damon, who gets a momentary touch for overtime, but won't be sticking around for long as Leolas shows off some accuracy, and Shikigami starts strong.
Big plays coming on from the side of Shikigami. Like, that Phoenix was just getting so much work done. Being able to pick apart close up, there's no way. Two in one day?
Straight to jail. Straight to jail.
Oh, what is going on with our duelists today? Yeah, cutaway.
30 seconds.
Yeah,
before you
just
attack.
Cutaway of shame.
look at the band. Think about the music. Lenny, think about the bunnies.
Oh, well, Strays will be playing with less information. I feel kind of bad for their strat line because they're probably going to think that they have to hold ultimate for Galactic Legend if they're tracking properly. The fact that Demon swaps onto Ultron for a first fight when you think the Frost Mountain has ultimate is a wild play coming on through from Strays though also.
1. All you need to do is catch.
I think I may have encountered a fatal error in Ether Close. Would you like to send an error report, Mox?
Oh, Frost Mountain's Ultron.exe has stopped working. Let's see if Shikigami can still make this first fight work. As Strays, they've got White Fox ult, good to go, but Lynch will have the Lunar ultimate online and Cap with Cosmic Gun Amplifier. It just kicks out Shikigami's aggression.
Kumiho to be unleashed, but as Rampage strikes first, this still might be biting off more than they can chew, though. The healing is solid. Lindstrom brings out the fate of both worlds, and that HPS just cannot compare when it comes to Znos. Kumiho doesn't do quite as much. Big Charm grabs 2 players for a soft CC, and Frost Mountain's going to suffer off the back of that. However, the damage from the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier going to be a little bit difficult to try and deal with. It's broken before the Ensong Inferno can reach Terra Firma, though, and now Lindstrom's under huge amounts of pressure. Znos getting involved in so many of these fights. The third partying strong. Frost Mountain going to try and TP back. May well cut off multiple members of the team, and is at least going to create a little bit of sanctuary of safety for themselves, keeping this one contested. Shikigami are already in control, so Frost Mountain at this point is just bargaining for extra percentage while Calf fights for their life on top of the health pack. It's not a fight you want to take against the Star-Lord, who's spread easily carved through the Rocket Raccoon.
Oh, the stall though. Strays still have not been able to act Shiki's presence fully from this point. Esau and the Dino is just such a pain point for them to have to deal with. So what should have been a 20% give turns actually into almost double that. Frost Mountain gives up the charge. Will still hold on to 50% of this Galactic Legend play, but Strays, they've got their own. Good to go. They can use both that and Rage of Ultron or even the Rampage to keep Shikigami at arm's length and make sure they have point percentage to play with. But they double up on both instead of burning through 1 by 1, which means that, honestly, in terms of farming point percentage, it's not going to be all that much, especially because there's a back cap potential coming up through from Kaya too.
Frost Mountain a touch late there on the Stellar shift, but may well have just been trying to force a reset onto themselves. The Blackso going down though. Fire's frontline presence is going to be a little bit limited. Binary, of course, can reinforce themselves by using one of the Deadpool ultimates for additional survivability.
Slowpo has Galactic Legend. I feel like that's one of the reasons why Demon used Rage of Ultron earlier in the fight. You know that Frost Mountain's about to come through with the ultimate. Cosmic Yarn Amplifier on one side, Slowpo's Galactic Legend on the other, but Frost Mountain still has the damage potential. Slowpo takes him down before the ult fully comes through, and that could be the thing that allows Trace to hold on to this fight.
Oh, Isidore still thinks that it's winnable without the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, without their Star-Lord. Slowpo now has an unbelievable angle to try and work from here. Forces Leolaz into the Ensong Inferno, and it does actually impact. The big shockwave chases down Slowpo, who is falling low. Nice stun over there onto Binary, and the follow-through is real from Leolaz and their counterpart with the Lunar Snow. Shikigami can now roll forward and make sure that Fire have nowhere to go.
Oh, this is going to be rough for Strays to get back into this next fight. Like, Demon has Rage of Ultron, try and carve open some spaces. They navigate through these chokes, but you don't yet have it on board, and you can't lose a player while you're trying to build up to it off of the back of Leolaz's poke potential on this Phoenix.
Slowpo needs to be careful not to get picked early here. Is the primary damage dealer of Fire Strays, and Leolaz knows it, focusing all their attention towards them. But now it's Damon who's going to be catching some hands, sends out some hands of their own. Doesn't take long to try and carve through the health bars here of Shikigami, but Leolaz doing so much damage. It's dink after dink. Binary stands in the way, but it's the fate of both worlds, which rolls on forward from both sides now. The healing should be nearly unlimited as we stand inside the dance floor and all frolic, waiting to build up towards our ultimate. Blackso in the back with the Rampage. It's not going to maybe try and turn this one around. Frost Mountain down so low. Only extra HP remains, but needs a little bit of healing before they can potentially commit to this fight with their own ultimates. However, Slowpo moves between these targets easily, and Fire have a stay of execution.
Yeah, Shiki will give. They could potentially have kept that fight going, but if they lose it, there's so much point percentage that goes on the way of Strays. Plus, you're down players, so you've got the point percentage time. Strays still have to pick up almost 50% of this point. You can afford a regroup, especially when you're coming in with all of these ultimates. Engage in with the Rampage off of Eastor. Use Kaya on the backline pressure to force Strays to give up the hold position in the front. But Slopper with the Galactic Legend takes Calf down early, and now Force Mountain trying to equalize, not able to find the picks, but able to give Shiki a little bit of space to breathe.
Bloodlust Legend duel so far. Frost Mountain forced to give some breathing space as well off the back of that team up TP.
Eastor can still engage the team forward with the Rampage. Leolaz with the health reset of Enson can potentially combine up with the Feast of the Abyss to have the pick potential to brush through the sustainability of Strays and Strategist lines. There's the Feast of the Abyss invested, applying the anti-heal, and Snost falls early. No Kumeho unleashed, it's reliance on Demon instead.
All in when it comes to the resources here from Shikigami, but Damon seems to be well on top of this, using just the Rage of Ultron. Tenacity active now for Binary, uncontrollable, so instead it's going to have to be Pain that makes it happen. Can anyone even come in to touch the point? Shikigami aren't there! Too far away, the commute was just too long, and Fire Strays even us up on being in T'Challa.
Oh, Leolaz went for the backline. Tried to find the picks instead of holding position on the point for Shiki to get a player swapped onto Strange to TPN. And we go all the way to Falls.
Good news is, no one has an ult to ult and spawn. Which is good for me, in particular.
Can we just, like, steal the keycaps? Just take out the Q keycaps. If we're boot camping, and I'm on these teams, and I'm that coach, I'm literally going around the keyboard, collecting the Q caps to make sure no one can press it in spawn.
Yeah, I think that checks out. Good strategy. You hand out the Q keys when you think it's time. I'm going to bestow you the highest honor I believe I can give. Hands you the Q key.
Oh, first fight might well determine who walks away with this round. Kaya off of the Venom this time around. No more dive, no more back cap frat. Just full rush time potential. Getting Death Ball into the first fight with the Emma. And really put a stop to Strays holding onto the space long enough to bolt an ultimate off of the back of Binary's Vanguard Pool.
Okay, having used Rage of Ultron, Fire happy to give up the Ultron itself and go back over to the Black Cat. Damon demands attention, and Leolaz is more than happy to give it. Out comes the Magical Unicorn, Bubble, Shield, and now the Crunch is coming in as well. It's easy to try and break through the Cosmic Yard Amplifier, but the damage has already been done. Shikigami took their opening. They just managed to dig in their claws and tear the armor asunder. A closer? Bro thinks it's winnable. In a 3 versus 5, I'm inclined to disagree, but they do stop Shikigami from capping. Are Fire going to TP back? They don't want to invest here. The closer of the wrong memo.
Oh no. Oh, closer goes down late as well. You might get another pick here onto Demon, which means, yeah, Strays have to spend more time, more point percentage given up, waiting for the full regroup. Lindstrom gets unmatched Lunar Ultimate, which Sloppo can use Galactic Legend to try to force out, but unfortunately for you, you've got to deal with Frost Mountain's own Galactic Legend when you have no Strategist ult to be able to live it. Look at how much more aggressive Shiki are being, closing up into the space and not allowing Strays any room to breathe, any chance of getting a full regroup, and using, bolding up any ultimates to try and break open this fight.
Frost Mountain make sure that Damon has no comfortability to try and find that backline as well. Consistently marked. You can see the Battle Recall beacon back there. Catching a little bit of nice tap fire from Sloppo to make sure that the bloom on the aim isn't too difficult to deal with. Frost Mountain simply waiting for their opening, knows that with themselves in control of it, they don't have to try and pull the trigger too early.
I mean, if you're Sloppo as well, like, you don't want to use Galactic Legend in fear that it forces Fate of Bowforge from Lindstrom, and then they use it to amp up the end song coming on through from Leolaz. Like, there's no clean way for Strays to be able to actually take engagements in these fights. You're looking at Demon making the space for you, but as you pointed out, Frost Mountain's been on top of the Black Cat, just not allowing him any entry.
All right, already debuff coming through onto Frost Mountain. Does have the option to not miss at all, but for now, it's just going to get easy headshots onto a Seduce the Deadpool. Sloppo taking a big risk here, but knows that this might be the opening they needed. Not having to go up against that Fate of both worlds. Extra damage coming through. The Cosmic Yard Amplifier makes Frost Mountain quite the warrior to be beheld. That's a big chase down onto Closer. Absolute hater behavior from Leolaz as in comes the Endzong Inferno, and the remainder of Fire should be wiped off with unceremonious play here. Snos is going to be around to get a little bit of additional healing. Slopper opens up the portal. The Pentagram of Ferala harkens the reinforcements for Fire Strays, but it might be a last chance saloon for Shikigami. A loath to give up. Yes, they might be able to chase down Frost Mountain, but they need to stay upon the point. Reinforcements of Shikigami have also opened courtesy of Lindstrom. Someone else going to have to swap over then onto Australia just to get any more healing coming out. Isidore unconcerned with healing right now. The Lion does not concern himself with the healing needs of Sheep. He simply chomps through his opponents, and Fire find themselves kennelled by Shikigami as it's a 2-1 victory on Bin into T'Challa.
Totally different story on Falls as Strays just fall apart after the first fight. Like, wrong investment timing of Fate of Both Worlds determines their fate for the rest of the map. They get split apart. They don't have any clear way of re-entry into those fights. You're looking at the Black Cat, but so too is the Star-Lord looking at where exactly Demon will be trying to play from. And even then, when you try and like use anything to force the fate of both worlds, like Vanguard Deadpool utilizes Banhammer to try to force it out, but then you have to worry about the TP of the Rocket team up coming on through, so that Frost Mountain yet lives even in the face of the ult off. But we'll have to see if Strays will be able to live on in this series. We'll be back with map 2 after this break.
Well, I seem that we're going to get an Alton spawn every first map today. I don't know what's going on there, but hey, Burn T'Challa does get one either way by Shikigami, even after the mishaps of point 2. And a good comeback from them, I would say, especially after they were able to lock in and look pretty dominant for the most part at the beginning of domination here, Moxie.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at these comps that people are running, especially when you're on like any form of dive or any fly, if you lose that first fight, it becomes so much harder to play into the re-entry because the scouting that you're able to do, you can lock up the lanes, you can basically tell your backline where to play super safe away from any position that the dive can catch on to easily, and just play to rotate away from any possible danger again and again and again, since you have the point. If the fight does not happen and does not get the opportunity to move on to the point itself, you're just building up point percentage while not allowing your opponents to build up ultimates.
Also seems like the Black Cat at the end, unfortunately, did not work out too well, I would say, for the Fire Strays team. And I can see why it wasn't banned out like we have seen for other squads in the past. But MVP here, actually, Layla is for good reason like that.
60% accuracy, obviously, when you're up against the Devil Dinosaur, it's fairly easy to farm that, but so much damage. And it felt like we constantly saw the duelists from the side of Shikigami, as you pointed out, not give Damon any space to breathe when he was playing on the Black Cat. So difficult to try and come on. And here's a look at the wider stats. I don't know if anything is standing out to you guys in particular. Probably for me, I'm going to be looking over towards Nos, taking part in a lot of these casualties. When it comes to that White Fox, I'd love to see a bit more of that.
Yeah, I mean, Moxie, what are your thoughts specifically on Fire Stray's performance here, at least looking at these stat lines?
I mean, the backline going down as many times as they did sort of means that the rest of the team have less opportunity to be able to do things. If the backline's constantly being pressured by just poke coming out from Leolas on the Phoenix, and you get very scared about how you're going to cross, it then forces your Vanguards to have to be a lot more passive in terms of being able to play into those frontline matchups, which allows a lot more spaces. We do have an ooh, because we finally moved away from Museum of Contemplation on Convoy. We're going Midtown.
Yay! We saw this like once earlier on and it worked out okay, and I'm really curious composition wise what we can expect here specifically from Fire Strays, as this is their map pick. I mean, maybe we'll see some of the Adam Warlock that we've seen in the past. There's been middling success specifically there in terms of performances for teams, but going on to Fire Strays map pick, they want to turn things around, do not want to give an easy win to Shikigami here, at least take it to 3. Map differential is going to matter a lot for those tiebreakers to make it to playoffs, so we'll see what they can do with it.
I think I hear the echoing call of a distant Flora Colossus mocks Midtown. Notorious for its front to back in many cases, and that is where Groot can excel, and that's also where Fire Strays excel with the Groot in play. That might come up late in the band draft as we get stuck in, and of course Devil Dinosaur is going to be mandatory.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you said, this is a really strong group map, but it's also sort of 2 birds, 1 stone approach, because it's also not a great dive map in terms of like putting it up against the rest of our convoy maps in play. So you don't have to worry as much about Shikigami getting things like the Venom or the Cap through, and you can play to put a little bit more punishment into potentially taking out the Phoenix, because Leolas was getting work done on the Gene, and with how long a lot of the sightlines are for Midtown, especially when you head into second, the verticality can make it really hard for attacking teams to be able to play into those re-entry fights. And as the Strays get the opportunity of saving the group, but forgo it in favor of the Lunar Snow instead. So Shikigami, options there for them. They could go for a group ban here, but they're going to remove the Mantis instead, since, yeah, Mantis, Loki, and Groot all making it through. Taking out the damage boost capabilities of the Vibrant Vitality team up would be very strong, as the Strays lose the opportunity of banning the Gene. Shikigami save her with the second lock swap.
Okay. Loki being off the table as well. We still have the option for Frost Mountain to pivot over onto the Star-Lord, and like Frost Mountain seems to feel unsqueezed on the hero pool right now. Like, you spend 2 bans on the Black Cat and the Daredevil, and still has the strongest duelist in the game, to be honest, with the Star-Lord available. It's a good time to be Frost Mountain right now. Especially because you're going to have the Star-Lord rocket once more, as opposed to just the base Star-Lord that Strays had available to you. And you sure how many times, like, Swapper's trying to go for the duel against Frost Mountain, even uses the ultimate against him on one of those fights on Falls, is not able to secure the pick because the TP iframe just comes on for Frost Mountain's able to avoid the dangers of Galactic Legend, survive in the fight, and take Sloppo down afterwards as well. So we'll have to see if it is going to be a reliance on the group coming on through from the side of Strays. It's definitely been the most comfortable that their Vanguard line has looked with the Dino, with the group,
in play, but we're not really seeing it at the moment. We've got, oh no, we do have it. There we go. There's the Groot, there is the Dino, and they're going to be starting off in the defense too. So potentially a lot of really good stall-out potential here, at least when it comes to just blocking off the angles on first fight.
All right. If you're a Shikigami Vanguard right now, you are in danger. However, if you're a Shikigami Duelist, you're feeling pretty happy, especially if you are Frost Mountain, because Devil Dinosaur and Groot so easy to hit there.
And
Essentially
Loki.
additional onks. Oh, it's so many onks.
Yeah, it's not Son Loki as well, so the build-up pace of Hand of Conchu is going to be so quick, but so too is the build-up of the Kraken Impact Strangling Prison combos. Shiki are also going to be allowing a lot of damage off of the soak potential from the Dino Emma frontline.
All right, we've got to try and get Leolas off high ground here, otherwise the crunch is going to be pretty brutal onto the fire backline when Leo finally takes that angle. Black's already taken down. The healing wasn't forthcoming. Two stacked up with a Loki clone, so we've got to project one over towards the Groot to give over that regeneration domain. And well, the Stragglers there in a bad time.
Hand of Conchu, good to go for Frost Mountain as well. You don't have to worry about regeneration domain when the fight starts, because the Hand of Conchu just rips straight through that cooldown, despite it still being up. Sloppo is onto the Star-Lord, just trying to give a little bit more space, get past Shikigami's front line, put the pressure on the Rocket and the Luna behind it, but there's the Hand of Conchu invested right on main, so Stray is going to have to use the Loki Greens and hold their position, because if they give way, they give up first point.
Sloppo out too far. Big ult coming out from Black So, though. Seems like a follow-up's not going to be forthcoming, with Binary having already fallen down. No means to chomp through the 5 members that are caught within the strangling prison. Easy street here for Shikigami, as Frost Mountain might consider a changeover after the next time they fall down now.
Strays, they're trying to work out what they want to play. Demon opts for the Punisher, and then opts off of the Punisher onto the Moon Knight. If anything gives you an instant inkling that a team is struggling and working out what they want to play, it's when your duelist swaps 3 times without actually committing to anything working out of spawn. He's on the Black Cat now instead.
I mean, Binary's down before Demon even gets to the fight here, which is sad news, bad news.
Well, no one's even on point contesting at the moment, because the Strays, they've been swapping up their duelists. Vanguard lines remain to Harry. There's no Cap, there's no Venom. No one's bypassed Shikigami's poke and gone to stall out the card. So this entire part of second has gone uncontested.
Kai's building up so much charge as well off the back of these Groot walls, and that's going to be the opening from the Emma Frost, getting that first ultimate coming out. Binary wants to get the first one to go down. The healing couldn't be delivered, even with the Lunar Snow behind them. Frost didn't get enough. Snos coming in, trying to get... No! He doesn't get a chance to use the ultimate! There's no way! Misses out on the fate of both worlds! Perhaps all of their other health was taken down there by Leolas with the End Song Inferno. Just bad timing.
Oh, Hand of Conchu as well. In case Strays try and get onto the point to stall it, but I don't think they will. Pretty sure all of their players are having to swap spawn as well, which, yeah, you can see the silhouette's just disappearing away from the Fisk building, so that, yeah, more space is picked up on that cart for free. And Shiki can just keep this cart rolling. It's barely stopped since it left that spawn.
Frostman is just having the time of his life right now. Completely unstressed, unbothered in his lane. Lo-fi beats to worship Khonshu too and all that. And still has a Hand of Conjure to lay down upon this backline once again. Sloppo looking towards the back, does have a potential playmaking ultimate here, but has already fallen so low. Out comes a Strangling Prison. Black Soul gets only Vanguard within, and there's going to be a lot of damage going their way. Everyone going to be penned into a single space here, though, from Shikigami, and that means that it's easy to rake through them with the claws of the Black Cat Demon, finding some final blows. Finally, a touch of stability.
Oh, late pick here onto Frost Mountain. Blackso has to live. You cannot let your Groot get exit traded, and he gets picked by Kaya, which is so bad. Like, Strays had the option of going in big investment with the Galactic Legend, but they actually don't go for it. They want to hold on to the ultimates so that they have the time drain for as long as possible, and it costs them. They actually lose players, which doesn't allow them to close hold against Shiki. The cart moves away into the open space, which then devalues the Groot, and they have to rely on Binary clearing the space with Summoner Seduction instead. instead, but no picks up the back of it. Worse for them, they've lost the Luna, and it's pure reliance on Invis woman heals instead.
Calling card onto multiple members, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be any resets coming through. The extra healing coming through from a side of a Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, but all the space which Shikigami wants to touch more. Now when everyone's penned into a single location, the Rampage is going to be so difficult to deal with. Chomping through the wood, it's like a chew toy here. A dentist stick maybe for Isidore to make sure those teeth are in good condition. Recontesting going to be difficult to manage. The hands of Khonshu rattle down from the sky, and Shikigami fetch quite a record pace. 303 on Midtown.
I would far prefer on the side of Strays to see the Galactic Legend invested of just zoning Shikigami off of the point and not relying on just picking up picks. Because if we do see trades, it actually goes in the favor of Shikigami because you're still in the first half or third. You're actually fighting closer to the attacker side. Losing Black Side meant that they did not have the Groot Walls to be able to police Shikigami's lane control or lack thereof it when they're trying to push outwards of Fisk building. And the fight just moved out into the open space. Shiki gets so much more room to be able to breathe. When Strays come in with ultimates, they've got the space to be able to pull back and live them and then return fire with one of their own. And it was just a snowball. Temporary pause, but it's just that, temporary. When Shikigami lose one fight on third and very quickly pull it back.
I got to give Kath their flowers for that last fight as well. Cosmic Yarn Amplifier countering out both the calling card of a Black Cat and the Galactic Legend. Like, maybe that's on fire for overlaying their duelist ultimates, but they didn't commit with all of that power as well. They just got too scared of Kath, who just put on her most aura face, laid down the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier and said, yeah, come fight.
It was almost a sort of two extremities to try and make up for the previous, right? Not ulting and then over-committing ultimates because you're scared about not being able to find the fight win with just the one of them. But we'll have to see if they can find the map win to continue on in this series. They think they're going to be able to do it yet again off of this group, but it's not with the Devil Dino. Binary is onto the Vanguard Deadpool instead, as Shikigami will have one-sided Isidore to be able to rampage through the streets of Midtown and try and stall out some of this point push.
Kai's going to be able to build up so much charge for their telepathic ray off the back of all of these walls from the Groot as well. So essentially there's going to be 100 charge all the time, and that means that the damage being pumped out of Kai is going to be so difficult to deal with. Nice off angle coming through here from Leolaz, and with Sentient Seas, Damon's finding some ability a touch more difficult. Up come the walls, but down go very few members of Shikigami. The healing is well on top of things, as Cat can play from his higher grounds as well if need be to try and circumvent the block offs that these walls give.
Strays waiting for that win condition of the Groot Strangling Prison and the Hand of Khonshu, but Frost Mountain, he just plays Hand of Khonshu dry and it works perfectly. Taking down Black Sow, Strays might have the Hand of Khonshu, but they don't have the Groot to be able to set it up to be the fight win. And Shikigami buy yet more space, which now allows them to split their team. Strangling Prison might come through, but it's not going to catch the whole team.
Playing in a much safer position now as well, that the cart has rolled on forward means it's a lot harder to try and catch in a small room this backline of Shikigami. Isidore's taking a lot of damage here, but the healer should be able to contend with it fairly easily. Once again, the Hand of Khonshu calls, in comes the Strangling Prison, caught in one space. They cannot be saved, but they can be forgiven, as the Battle Recall Beacon will bring Frost Mountain back, but with most of the team already having headed down, it might just be a quick reset here for Frost Mountain.
Strange TP time coming on for on the side of Shiki. They'll have both Strategist ultimates up. Good to go, but Strays, they've got Final Judgment. They'll have a Lunar ultimate or a copy of one with the God of Mischief to be able to pocket Demon. And this should be their pick potential.
All right, Cat. Cosmic Yarn Amplifier. When does she decide to use it? Amplifying the Ensong Inferno seems to be the use du jour at the moment. Bat Hammer already deployed here by Binary. Might well shut down a couple of members. That doesn't mean that Leola's not going to be available for the midst of this. Lindstrom moves forward. A lot of healing to try and keep themselves safe through the damage of the Punisher. It's difficult to try and disengage. You saw a flash of damage boost coming through as well to make the Hand of Khonshu all the more deadly. But now it's not rolling forward. Fate of both worlds. So much healing, but you're going up against a bunch of damage as well. Kath forcing the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier. A little bit of an aggro grab, but the aggro is strong from Shikigami right now. So much damage pouring out of Frost Mountain.
Oh, there's a silver lining as well to the fact that Kaya got frozen. out of the Eye of Agamotto, and that's you'll have it to set up the Ensong Inferno in this next fight. That was Stray's big play in terms of the ultimates that they have. They've got one more left in the pocket, and it's Strangling Prison, Hand of Khonshu. No strange TP if Shiki lose players to this one. Maybe it's enough for Stray to be able to actually get more time on the board, but it has to be big.
Trying to go first for Strangling Prison. Blackso stunned within, and there's not going to be enough healing forthcoming for him, and Damon's already gone down as well. With 30 seconds remaining, this one's cooked. Get back to spawn, lads.
Leolaz uses the Ensong Inferno. Shiki have been able to weather the storm of 2 approaches now from Strays. Just using the Cosmic Gun Amplifier to break through in the last fight. That time going aggressively first to break Strays before they can set up the Groot Moon Knight combo. They don't have the means to go aggressive this time around. It's just relying on Leolaz and putting so much damage on Stray's walk-up because they're about to hit overtime. The hand is forced. Slowpoke catches Frost Mountain though out of position, and this could be an opening for Strays.
Yet another freeze. Kaya down to 50%. Blackstone needs to try and find the opening here with a Strangling Prison. Doesn't want to see their ultimate get shielded, so they're focusing on Kaya first. Now what can Isidore do to try and stop this one? Holding onto a bubble shield. Kaya is... No! He ulted the bubble of the Devil Dinosaur! Isidore is just unbelievable! But Blackstone's going to be kicking himself for this one. Binary still believes it to be winnable. Needs to use it now anyway. The Bad Hammer is deployed to try and stop Shikigami's defense. But guess who's rolling forward? Frost Mountain still throwing out Onk after Onk. Crescent Dart after Crescent Dart. Khonshu has your number and says that this series stops here, but Closer disagrees. A fate of both worlds to be decided. A cut-off of the ultimate here from Cap, and it is going to be necessary for survival for Znos to use yet another fate of both worlds. The reinforcements are going to start arriving. Kaya in particular has come back on the Venom. That's a lot of meat to put on top of the cart here as Leolaz is able to easily aim down the Vanguard. You can't stand up to Isidore, but Devil Dino's everything. Here comes the Punisher. The healing needs to come on through. Damon is delivering the damage. Leolaz gets in close. The Ensong Inferno towards the bottom, broken down in but milliseconds after it was deployed, and that's going to be a stay of execution for Fire as this ult goes on just a second longer.
Oh, the backline is so clutch. The back-to-back freezes on Kaya's Nost coming out of the Fate of Both Worlds copy with Regeneration Domain to pocket Final Judgment from Demon, but here is the Shikigami special. The map flip strange TP. They don't use it for contesting first. They use it to jump on you when you're trying to have your backline push on second.
Guys standing on business here. And guess what? No Devil Dinosaur means no fear of playing the Wolverine, and this is Frost Mountain's happy place. Isidore, who pokes his head out of a portal, instantly gets it taken off by a shotgun. Relatable content, to be honest, and a big grab here is not going to get too much in the way of value. Not going to be too much healing for Kaya either. He ends up with their back towards a cage. Should be resurrected by the Battle Recall Beacon.
There's a lot of fighting, though, for Shiki. Like, Stray's got picks, but Battle Recall Beacon, like you said, brings back one. They have to have a fast push through second because they lost so much time on first. This Strangling Prison with the Hand of Khonshu combo has to be so clean. They can't allow Shikigami the opportunity to stall out for time even more, especially with Kaya swapping onto the Venom. He's just going to be able to go on to the point, onto the backline, past Stray's frontline push.
Lack of Devil Dinosaur, certainly an interesting compositional choice here for Fire, but maybe they're better with the old El Clasico. Hands of Khonshu prepared to be deployed. It's not been quite such a defense here from Shikigami after losing the initial slingshot engage. Out comes the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier. Of course, that needs to be answered here by Closer. Frost Mountains overextended themselves. All in onto Leolaz. Absolute hater behavior, but the haters come up strong here against their counterparts. Isidore begins the rampage. Rolling forth, knowing that Fire are very little in the way of counterplay to try and deal with this one. All isolating over onto the groups. And that's going to be a big loss. Oh, what a peel from Blackso! Didn't get grabbed up with CCMU and courtesy of the Ironwood Wall, and so was able to peel for the remainder of the team. Damon now being such a dangerous customer with the dual miniguns, but no one wants to step on up and deal with it. Instead, Isidore is lost.
Grit Wall, Black Side Grit Wall, so that you still wasn't able to get past and onto point to contest. So at that point, you know, you've already lost point. You're going to get staggered if you don't just throw yourself forward. So that was all about just fast resetting so that Shikigami had both Vanguards up and available to complete this next push, and Strays don't just get to translate it into free cart distance when they already don't have a lot of time to complete both.
All right, Damon looking down the barrel here. You can see Leolaz trying to take the high ground. The Ban Hammer already given on over. Binary is so deep in the back right now. Wants Cath real bad, but Isidor's attention is going to turn them around. Damon just catching so much damage, but the healing is solid. Just all in around the Punisher carry to make sure they're not taken down by the full commit of Kaya.
Kaya with Piece of the Abyss, though, was chunky enough to go into the backline, onto the point and stall it. Leolaz will be able to break through some terrain, but not onto the low ground enough to be able to hit onto Trey's backline, and you still have to worry for Shiki. That cart is getting close to the finish line, but they've got the ultimates good to go. Strangling Prison now, the Conchi follow-up, but no one's calling it.
Perfect Ironwood wall at least. Found an opening onto Isidore, but they are returned here by the Battle Recall Beacon. Extra damage from Frost Mountain, the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier makes Moon Knight a very dangerous customer in the neutral. And it's up so high that Fire can't really find an angle to try and take it down.
Closer has Fate of Both Worlds. Demon a hair's breadth away from getting Final Judgment online, but the Hand of Khonshu forces close to have to use the ult early. Demon now with Fate of Both Worlds still duration will be able to use the Lunar Ultimate to walk his way forward. The cart getting closer and closer to the finish line is not so close to getting that God of Mischief, which should be enough for Trace to be able to push.
Flaxo looking for an opening here, 30% of the way towards the ultimate though, so it's not going to be coming up in this fight for now. Damon looking towards the skies, already it's Binary making moves. Nos is used, the Fate of Both Worlds, stolen away from their co-sporting closer. Frost Mountain down, Shikigami going to try and turn this one around. Lindstrom has began dancing, the concert has began, but will it be more of a tribute to Fire, or will it be Shikigami rising in a victory? A last second chance to recontest here. It is going to be the Vanguard Deadpool who gets himself upon the point, but here's Shikigami. Attrition's in their favor. They're so close to their spawn. The respawns are coming forth and no one's on the point as Binary is forced away. Fire Strays, despite a spirited attempt after first point, are taken away, and Shikigami win the series 2-0.
They lost it on first. Like, the reality is harsh, but they gave up so much time. They clawed some back on second, since they were able to get all the way into Subway without any form of... Well, actually, they had to deal with the strange TP. And then they were able to get through second without much less contest until we headed into Subway. But they just did not have the time. So that when it headed into third, and as you said, that car gets closer to the defense's respawns. The attrition warfare goes in favor of the defense, and they lose the opportunity of playing it slow, building up ultimates, completing a full team sweep, and managing to push the cart that little bit of distance left to take us into OT rounds.
I feel like if we saw a flip of the start of the map, right, where it was Fire Stray starting on attack and then defending afterwards, completely different story, right? It took them towards that second half to finally figure out what they needed to do against this team, but with it being a best of 3, there's no second chances. So unfortunately for them, they could not turn things around. I think there's a lot to learn here specifically for Fire Strays, but like the Shikigami look back in top form.
Yeah, Shikigami look real good right now. Isidore looking very strong on the Devil Dino. I particularly like the E-flick on the bubble to block the Strangling Prison. Absolute baller maneuver from Isidore. It's like, there's no way that he's going to block this with the Devil Dino shield. He is saving. He did it. Isidore might be my most improved player of this year already. Is looking absolutely lights out in 2026, and definitely like the Vanguard to watch, and a key part of how Shikigami are so dangerous in the modern day.
I mean, talking a little bit more about Fire Stray from that matchup too, I did like the flexibility that we saw from their duelist lineup, specifically Demon, you know, like to play some of that triple strategist that we saw last time. This time on the Punisher seemed to be a little bit more unleashed there, and then Sloppo, of course. I mean, SVP on their end, I would say too, but looking specifically at Frost Mountain here, Moxie, they were a menace on this map in Midtown.
Look, when your Moon Knight has an accuracy of 46%, you know that you're not having a fun time. Like, there's so much damage coming on through, and that means that the backline's constantly under pressure to try and, like, heal it all the way back up. If you play 2 stacks, you're allowing Frost Mountain to just walk away with all of the Hand of Khonshu plays, and you don't have the means of really being able to heal through it. Shikigami didn't even really play with the Groot to set the Moon Knight up. It was more just trying to take advantage of Strays running things like the Loki.
Well, seeing how this match has gone in favor of Shikigami, they definitely have things turning around in their favor for the rest of this group stage, but the weekend is still long ahead for Fire Strays. I mean, Leg Day, any things that you think they need to improve on the most going into their future matchups?
This team looks a little bit stronger when they're not on the Devil Dino.
Yeah, honestly.
Which is a sad reality in the current meta, where Devil Dino is incredibly strong. But if you do look better off the Devil Dino, maybe it's time to not be investing that first protect in the Devil Dinosaur and maybe making sure that something that often gets planned out a little bit later could be a big part of your overall wheelhouse, like say the Mantis.
Yeah, Mantis or even the Phoenix that we've seen a lot of teams rely on there for the hit scan specifically. But Fire Strays, of course, do fall here. Shikigami looked on top of the world. And I got to give a shout to Kath again. She's the newest member coming onto this roster for Shikigami, and she's fitting in pretty well here for Shiki, Moxie.
Yeah, she's really fitting in very well, allowing this team to play a lot of different strategists as well. Being able to play things like the Rocket is a really strong look, especially because we saw the amount of BRB uptimes that were coming into play. Just like every time Strays works so hard to get a pick. Boom, brought back by BRB, or Cosmic Yon Amplify being the difference to be able to break through strategist heal potential and allow things like Leola's Endsong Inferno to be able to find a pick off, despite the strategist's ult being up on the other side. Really disrupted a lot of how Strays wanted to plan their ultimate economy.
Well, we'll be hearing from Frost Mountain in a little bit here as well, if we can get them locked in, because last time we unfortunately didn't get to hear from them that time. But either way, they are here to talk to us about their victory. Frost Mountain, how does it feel? Your team seems to be on fire in this meta.
I don't know. This meta has been kind of rough for us. I feel like we've only found our footing with this meta like this past week. I know against Control we struggled a lot. There's a lot of times where we just didn't understand where we wanted to be in this meta, and I think now this past week we fixed that, and I think we know what we want to do now.
I want to talk about what it's been like integrating Kath into Shikigami, obviously a pickup after preseason where you guys did incredibly well. What's it been like getting Kath up to speed in the roster?
I don't think there's been too many issues at all. The transition was kind of flawless. I think Kath is a really good player. I think she fit into the comp structure really well. She's like very like what's it called? She's very like enthusiastic to like if somebody tells her to like improve something, she'll do it right away. She's like she really wants to improve, and I think that's really good.
So talking then a little bit about what you were just saying there, the fact that you guys were sort of struggling in comparison to preseason's meta and now, is there a reason, do you think there is the struggle? Because like before it was a lot of reliance that we saw in terms of you playing the Ultron, the Human Torch on Convergence. Do you think the meta's moved away from Flyers off of just how problematic things like the Star-Lord and the Devil Dino currently are being?
Yeah, I think the Torch, they kind of killed Torch. I think the rework was really, really bad. I don't think Torch Ultron is really playable anymore. I think the character's gotten better in 2-2-2, where like you don't play with Ultron, but you'd have to play more flank. But I just don't think it's viable enough or consistent enough to actually play. And Ultron is like, he's still like really strong. I think this past week we've been seeing a shift in the meta where Ultron can't really be played, I don't think. Like, it's kind of rare you'll see him, I think, because he's so... Like, he doesn't do much into Brawl, and he's kind of just a free target for dive. So I don't think a lot of teams are going to be playing Ultron this week at all, this weekend.
Well, you guys are looking pretty good so far in groups at this point now at 2-1, only have a couple matches left, and this was the only one that you actually had this week. So looking ahead, you know, you have Reason Gaming and the Chosen Ones. Any thoughts about that matchup before we send you away?
I mean, it's not too much. I just like, we're just gonna improve next week. We're just gonna play those games, play our best, probably, like, hopefully win, you know. Those teams are the comparable to like Team Heretics or the others, so I think it should be fine. Hopefully.
Easy cleanup, it sounds like, from you. Well, thank you, Frost Mountain, for joining us here on the broadcast. Go congratulate your team for us and enjoy your win.
Thank you.
Short and sweet. I mean, a man, a few words, but I think, you know, gave us the insight that they needed. Not feeling as confident previously on the meta, but they did lock in, and I think that's the adaptation we've been waiting for here, leg day.
Yeah, we've been wondering if Shikigami going to find their footing, but they seemed a lot stronger today. Frost Mountain being able to flex their hero pool a little bit as well. The Star-Lord and the Moon Knight both looking strong, even more copping a bunch of bans. So for Shikigami fans, the future is bright.
It is bright. They only have 2 more matches, but we have 1 more match here for day 1 of week 2. It's going to be Pulsar versus Na'Vi, Crisis versus old roster. You don't want to miss it after this.
좀 더 기다려 I'll be there 쓰러지지 말 끝까지 일어나야 해 어딜 가든지 극복해 힘은 너에게 있는 걸 소리 높여 노래를 불러 작은 걱정 따윈 던지고 최선을 다해 다짐을 쳐봐 어둠 있다 내때까지 아름다운 꿈을 밝혀봐 우리에게 달려서 그 세계 운명 눈이 부신 모든 순간들 지켜내야 해 내게 좋아지려면 꿈꿔도 너와 나 그래 그래서 네 운명에 The weight of it both the world is in our hands 작은 걱정 따윈 던지고 최선을 다해 다짐을 쳐봐 어둠 있다 내때까지 아름다운 꿈을 밝혀봐 우리에게 달려서 그 세계 운명 어둠 있다 내때까지 세계 운명
Remember the dusk, the lights gripping tightly, trapping all those fighting souls. But yet, across the world, I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon. And I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends. The night has fallen, shadows looming, and yes, that time has come for me to seek you out. We are set now for our last reunion. Break the chains, find your way, come find me. Do you remember who you really are? Show me that you are still the only one for me. I'll be waiting for you. Wake up, open your eyes, raising up your fists and smashing through time walls. Before the rifts splinters again, we are rebels till the end. Rise up, open your mind, hold on to your powers. No one can stop us. We are rivals till the end of time. We will flash, no matter where. We will fight.
One series remains, and it's the matchup of the hour: Pulsar versus Na'Vi. This is the one to tune into. I know we've had sweeps across the board so far, but Pulsar was the only team to take a map in the group stage at all against Virtus Pro specifically from preseason into this stage one. Maybe it's a bit of an inkling of Virtus Pro struggling, but also Pulsar doing pretty good for themselves. We'll have to see which one it truly is, because if Pulsar can take one against Na'Vi, then the hype is real. But if they can't, then it's like maybe it's issues in the VP camp here. Moxie, been talking about that. This Pulsar team has a lot to prove.
Yeah, I mean, a lot to prove. They've made some pretty big adjustments coming through from preseason into Stage 1. I'd argue probably one of the most changed teams that we're seeing coming in, given, well, the role swap situation that we've had. We can finally address, like, we played Spot the Crisis. Now we know. Situation has been solved. We know exactly where he went, just not quite in a manner that we expected it.
I mean, talk to us about Crisis here. What can we expect here? Has been seeing him on the rank grind as well in his new role here, leg day.
Yeah, Crisis is putting in the hours to translate into a great strategist player, which is very much about decision making. Crisis has no problems when it comes to mechanics. For my money, I think Crisis might be one of the most gifted mechanical aimers we have in the entire league, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which makes it all the more surprising that they're going to be on the strategist role. But that does mean that when you're going up against like a Crisis Luna, you are going to be taking some very dangerous duels. And the remainder of Pulsar Esports, they picked up Ballas and DRP from Reason, who previously had some great success on other teams. DRP in particular filled in at the World Championships and played for Chopped previously. So Pulsar Esports, this is a new roster that doesn't have much built-in synergy, so I don't expect them to like win out over Na'Vi particularly strong here, but this is definitely a team with huge potential.
Speaking of a team with the maximum potential, it is Nazvincere, as they were the team who came out on top, took down the Virtus Pro first in the preseason, set the momentum from then on out, and looked unstoppable even against a team like Heretics, Moxie.
Yeah, I mean, Na'Vi have always been about trying to work out what the meta is and fast adjustments. And one thing we're hearing from everyone today is that the meta has changed, that people are playing different compositions that they weren't 1 week ago with the little bit of downtime they had between the first week and the second week. But something that I really wanted to talk about was the fact that Na'Vi have still been playing Vanguard Deadpool, and it gets through ban draft pretty much 100% of the time now that you have to address things like the Devil Dino, the Black Cat, the Lunar Snow, the White Fox. All of those are much higher priority targets, which allows Trust Me to get his comfort pick 9 times out of 10 in terms of these maps.
I think that's the problem with a lot of teams here, is that they don't like to play into what they're comfortable. They're trying to match a meta that they don't fully understand, and they're suffering for it. I mean, we saw that earlier on in our previous matchups, but we also saw it in the preseason for the previous version of Pulsar, where they got 2-0'd by Na'Vi. But this is Crisis facing off against his former team in Na'Vi. I mean, any edge you think like that might give this Pulsar team against them?
I mean, Crisis is very much aware of how Na'Vi operate. Obviously, that might be changing in the modern day, as the biggest change they made in the offseason was bringing in Shu as a coach. So maybe now Na'Vi have like a senior voice who's going to be doing like conflict mediation, or resolution will be the final word on like who's correct out of Trust Me and Terra, who we both know are both incredibly smart and incredibly opinionated, and neither of them is wrong.
Yeah, but they lost Sky as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They lost Sky to America, which means that the analysis could potentially have been a little bit hit.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest potential downfall of their end, and might make it so they're not as prepared against a team like Pulsar. But who knows until we actually get into the map itself. Hell's Heaven has been a hell of its own making, I guess, for Na'Vi. I mean, that's the map that set things off on the wrong foot against Heretics, where they dropped against them in that matchup. But Pulsar, they're going to try and see if they can have their own brawly comp against them, or pull out something out of the hat they have not shown so far. We'll see what they can do against the champions of preseason in this matchup.
Pipe Dream here, Mox. We saw a little bit of a buff for Iron Fist in the Season 8 patch notes, and if there's one person who might bring out an Iron Fist, I would say that it's Terra. And we have seen it occasionally on the Hell's Heaven, but that's just a pipe dream for me for now. I like seeing it come out. We're going to get into our ban draft here. And as you said, with Skies gone, the analysis of what enemy teams are doing in terms of their, like, as LinePro put it, like 3.6 million computations, the amount of computations done might have slid slightly here for the side of Na'Vi.
I mean, ban draft is super important as well. You really can just like lose the round in the draft if you're coming up with a composition that your opponent baits you into playing as. Pulsar will be saving the Phoenix, having banned out the Gambit and the Black Cat. So again, we're starting to see much more common teams okay with not going for the Manta second ban. She might still have the speed boost now added to her kit, but going with the Ultron, as we heard previously from Frost Mountain, is proving to be much more of a problem than a boost for these team compositions. So it's a little bit safer to let the Manta slide.
First time we haven't seen the first protect on the Devil Dinosaur as well. Seems like Pulsar might be in a position kind of like Fire Strays, where they might be stronger without the Devil Dinosaur taking up a lot of their resources. Of course, priority onto the Phoenix, and as you said, the Mantis as well. This is going to allow for Pulsar to have kind of a hyper carry potentially in Ballas, who Na'Vi are going to have to spend a lot of resources shutting down.
No Loki ban as of yet as well from the side of Na'Vi, so Pulsar will get the Loki, the Mantis, and the Groot potentially, unless Na'Vi use this last ban slot in removing only the one of them, and it will be the Loki. I think, like, yeah, when you have a hypercarry duelist in the form of the Phoenix, the regeneration domain being that much larger and also carrying with it separate damage boost, which, if you do not know this, by the way, damage boost is a stackable buff that you can apply multiple times to the same character. So having the Mantis base damage boost can actually pair up with the additional damage boost off of the regeneration domain, allowing the Phoenix's punch to be that much more problematic for Na'Vi to have to deal with. And they go for the save on the Starlord, which I really like as an address coming on through. It means that potentially Pulsar have to burn a ban on the Rocket coming on through here, because if they do want to go for triple strategist line with the Mantis and the Ultron in play, the Starlord is going to be something that they really do have to be concerned about.
Yep, and as predicted, there goes the Rocket Raccoon, getting rid of both the Rocket Network Teleportation Beacon and, of course, the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, which we have seen be kind of a Thanos tier ultimate, like underrated for the general public, it would seem, because it's not a we live forever strategist ultimate. It's a we win now strategist ultimate when it's used by players like Kath.
I mean, it also forces your Phoenix to have to hold on to End Song, right? To be able to use it for the one-shot potential onto a deployable. So you would be held to when Na'Vi wanted to ult, as opposed to when you want to use it proactively. Some teams like going for second turn staging, but I feel like in this meta, when you're like playing for such long brawly fights, it's a big risk going second, because it can really prove quite problematic for you to have to try and take back percentage, especially on domination, if playing second for the long term does not pay off well.
Ultron exiting from the meta in many cases definitely is good news for the Jerky heads amongst us. While Jerky is a very good Ultron, love to see him being able to flex his hero pool a little bit more. Eventually we're going to get that mythical Hulk that, that keeps coming up in the Hulk's content.
Yeah, we got it on Museum of Contemplation for one whole fight in preseason. And then it was instantly pivoted away from. But yeah, Pulsar pivoting, Ultron still open, but going for the Adam Luna triple strat line instead. So Soul Bond on the first fight, and Crisis, previously being a duelist player, is going to be incredibly gifted at hitting shots on Adam for both damage potential, but also refresh on Lightstream.
Adam Mantis, what year is it? Doesn't look like 2026 right now. That much is for sure. Battle's just going to be pumping out so much damage here. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on how quickly Crisis generates that ult. Level 1 Crook requires a bit of healing. That's going to come from Captain America coming in and presenting a shield to make sure that it's not going to be too much damage heading the way of their strategists. For now, though, Pulsar playing a very tight formation, not trying to get anyone grabbed by Rajaro early, but the threat of that Devil Dinosaur makes it easy to get that early cap on the point, as you don't want to try and go head-to-head in a melee contest with the Devil Dino. It just does too much damage, and Pulsar are forced to cede away first control.
DRP gets overran by Na'Vi's team. They give up going for the dive on the backline and see instead the Emma isolated on the point being the one thing that stops Na'Vi from getting that first cap. Get the pick, get the cap through, and now you don't have to worry about how stable Pulsar's comp can be in terms of the backline survivability against things like the Daredevil and the Captain America, as Pulsar gives up on playing the previous composition. Blur opts for the Venom instead, wanting to have some form of split pressure so that Pulsar don't just have no space to work with, and the backline constantly hounded.
Blur got grabbed in there by the Daredevil, of course, to take an inopportune matchup. Balance going to be hitting plenty of headshots there onto the Devil. So Fate is in a very audacious position, but the TP away, very strong. Spirit Sanctuary erected in its wake as well. Tiso Tilas more than happy to try and meet this ultimate, and Terra now knows that they have an opening to play with, ready to go with the Galactic Legend trying to face down Tiso Tilas, but Jerky's just been forced to run away elsewhere. Terra's catching shots from Ballast, damage boosted as well, drops down into the wake of the health pack for a bit of additional healing. But for Pulsar, this appears to have been a successful fight with 2-3 ultimates invested. Na'Vi a little bit flummoxed.
Potentially Portal from Crook as well. He went down early. Dallas was waiting for the timeout of Fate of Both Worlds, uses the Ensong Inferno to catch the Luna, and then Crook thought that it was still stallable for Na'Vi, went for the range. Don't know if he committed to trying to get the cast of the TP off, but Pulsar now with that position on the point itself, having Seal of Trust and his Freedom Charge, DRP trying to slow the momentum down with the Silent Seduction while Blur hits onto the backline.
Freedom Charge towards the back, trust me, cleanses the seduction of Emma Frost as Blur is caught unawares in the back. The Devil's being unleashed by Jerky. Kumiho should be able to deal with it fairly well off the back of the healing that's given over, but the focused fire from Na'Vi burns through triple strategist healing with ease, and Jerky shows off that they are that guy on the Daredevil.
Blur just not having a fun time on this Venom. Has the Feast of the Abyss to have the confidence to go aggressively after Na'Vi's backline. Likely gets hit with so much CEC, does not get the opportunity to use the ult for the self-sustainability. Goes down with it still in hand as Pulsar swapping up yet again. Crisis now onto the Luna. Lapsus going to be playing the White Fox, but this is potentially Final Fight territory, and Na'Vi can just hit Pulsar when they're on the high ground.
Blur just getting continuously bullied, by the way, by the Daredevil and Captain America. Running him down in the streets, merciless so far. Terra, a little bit of additional damage towards those Vanguards, building up towards yet another Galactic Legend. And Pulsar aren't really going to have that much to try and deal with it in terms of her own strategist. Ultimate Trust being taken down by Crisis, showing off that accuracy yet again. But DRP's run down. That's a very audacious Chom trying to get it all in onto that Devil Dinosaur. The full-on's not going to be there, though. So many squishies underneath Terra. Can't miss a shot, and the Spirit Sanctuary does nothing when it's just a cone with no roof and Terra's directly above them. Still Ballas, and the audacious aim could be enough here. Taking down Jerky to begin with, a quick turnaround off the back of the Endsong Inferno. DRP opens up the pentagram, but Ferala Crisis taken down by the Vibranium Energy Saw, and trust me, cuts through the upstarts of Pulsar. DRP unable to touch as the body block comes through, and Na'Vi win out the first point of Hell's Heaven.
Na'Vi are just taking advantage of how split Pulsar are being. Like, this EMEA is just alone against the storm of Na'Vi's whole team. DRP is not having a fun time. That's why Blur has to go so early for the Feast of the Abyss, because the EMEA gets taken down without the Venom ulting in. Pulsar don't really have anyone outside of squishies, vulnerable players who have to play around the pillars of the point itself, full in the awareness of the Galactic Legend pressuring them the moment they drop from high onto low. So it forces Pulsar's hand in terms of that positioning to have to use their Vanguards in those manners. It means that Na'Vi gets away with a lot. Their backline doesn't have to be as concerned about the dive coming on through. Their duelists can take so many more angles because Pulsar just don't have the plays to police them.
Yeah, they don't have the players nor the mobility to really deal with it. Ballas obviously has flight on the E, but not nearly as mobile as something like a Daredevil or a Star-Lord.
This next fight could be a go fast approach coming on through from Pulsar. Ballas with the damage boost might be able to find a great opening pick so they don't have to part ways with Twitzy Soul Resurgences. Trust me has the Freedom Charge, and that will be match for match. Strategist ultimate versus Vanguard ultimate to try and stabilize the space.
Alright, Soul Resurgence needs to heal up Blur, who at the moment isn't getting much attention from the strategist, and Jerky chased down by Crisis. We talked about the accuracy that's going to be important when it comes to that Luna play in particular from Crisis. Rojaro manages to get a good isolation here onto DRP. Up comes the Bubble Shield to block off any of the healing coming their way. The Charm of the White Fox is too late to arrive, and so DRP will be lost, and even more so at the hands of Terra. Easy clips here for the Star-Lord as Terra reigns imperiously over Pulsar's fleeing core. The squishy torn apart, and the insides have been rearranged. That's going to be Na'Vi grabbing their first cap.
Yeah, trust me, doesn't actually mirror the ult timing of Twitzy. They use it much later after the Soul Resurgence has already started, so that they can use it to hold on to that point space, not disengage it despite losing Jerky early. Plus, when DRP is able to wall off, trust me, with the EMEA team up from that Luna, you've got the Freedom Charge to self-sustain through it, and Na'Vi off of the back of it have been able to win the first fight, which is instrumental in getting Jerky into a position to win the next one for you.
Jerky for now just maintaining Blur's attention. DRP taken down again. The damage per second out of the Star-Lord is actually ridiculous. And, well, Pulsar got caught in a corner, and that's where the Devil Dinosaur does so much.
Ballas has swapped off of the Phoenix onto the Elsa, but honestly, the most impactful swap that you can make right now is Daredevil. Just to have the passive to be able to match the information that Jerky's given this team. They've all got so much mobility, Pulsar have no space to be able to breathe. They might have a triple strategist line, but that sustainability is falling apart in the face of all of the damage and split potential of Na'Vi's early hits. There comes the Let the Devil out, forcing Crisis into using the Fate of Both Worlds early, and Na'Vi don't have the rest of the team even commit to it. They just wait it out. Crook has his uncontested now.
All right, Rajro grabbing Blur out of mid there. He was trying to at least troll temporarily on the point. Out comes the Galactic Legend. Will there be enough fire on towards Terra here is the question. Managing to dodge away from the Sonic Seduction of DRP, which is often a classic counter. Out comes the Kumiho. Unleashed by Lapsis of Silas, but it's going to be Crisis who doesn't receive any of that healing. There's so much damage coming the way of Lapsis of Silas. Level 1 Crook overwhelmed by Blur. The melee damage from Pulsar is still pretty strong, but the strongest right now is going to be Jerky, who can just move between all of these targets so easily, and Rajro slows Blur on the disengage. No flip in terms of Pulsar here. We just have to use the Soul Resurgence to try and get this last chance saloon. DRP has already tried to protect something when it comes to this recontest, opening up the pentagram of Ferala, but trust me, has the Freedom Charge to make sure the remainder of the team has plenty of HP to try and deal with this one. And with the Devil Dinosaur at the door, it's so hard to debark from this portal.
Oh, Rogero has the Rampage as well, the moment that you do have to go through, because overtime would end or the portal would run out. This is just clean up on Isle Eldritch Monument as Na'Vi complete the supermarket sweep. 2-0 on Hell's Heaven, looking just as strong as they were in preseason.
I mean, for Na'Vi, it's just another day at the office. Looking incredibly strong here on Domination, and not really having to show off too much, in my opinion, either. They're playing fairly classic meta picks here. We are seeing a little bit of a flex on towards the White Fox, which is very interesting coming from Fate. But for Pulsar, it's back to the drawing board. They've got some time to figure it out as we go to a break.
이루어지는 마법인 거야. 운명의 소리 들려 여기서 저기서 날 찾으면 달빛이 날 비춰와. 시작해야 let's go. 아무도 흘러는 우주 따뜻한 눈으로 감싸는 숨결 신비롭게 녹아내릴 거야. 좀 더 기다려 I'll be there. 쓰러지지 마 끝까지 일어나야 해. 어딜 가든지 극복해. 힘은 너에게 있는 걸.
Well, the Kings of EMEA sit securely on their throne, still here against Pulsar in Map 1. Hell's Heaven went about as expected for the most dominant team that we've seen in the preseason into Stage 1. We were talking during the break here, Moxie, that it's kind of a benefit for Na'Vi, though, because they haven't had much footage against them for other teams to study so far.
Yeah, they've only played one match so far. This is their second one. Their first one they played versus Brad. So you get the opportunity to scout that specific composition and ban line against that team. But as we heard from Line Pro earlier, like the ban draft changes based on which team you're going up against. And the strength of players to those specific heroes that they can play is always going to mean that the ban drafts are different in a situation to situation circumstance. So only getting to see Na'Vi in play once means that you don't actually know how much of what they did in that match was specific to their opponent in the moment, or more of a default line for the meta as a whole.
Well, no surprise on the MVP that we have here, Leg Day.
Oh, 27, 0 and 0. No assists, Terra, really? Honestly, the goal of some duelists, and lights out performance here from Terra with 55.4% accuracy, which, by the way, is not farmed off a Devil Dinosaur, which we often see be the big accuracy upticker in these matchups. But it was a one-sided Devil Dino here. Pulsar were unable to really grab at one, so that is some bonkers mechanics from Terra.
8 finals as well, so doing pretty good, but kind of spread it out across the entire team. It seems like this composition is just working out very well for Na'Vi, Moxie.
Yeah, I mean, Na'Vi had a little bit of a stumble in the first fight where they were trying to formulate this dive with the Daredevil, ran into the problem of triple strategist line with Adam Soulbond, and instantly works out, okay, backline is not at in this fight. We go target the front line, who's super isolated instead, and you can see the difference in terms of casualties from DRPs, and who, for the most part, was stuck on the Emma Frost, and always isolated in those fights, something that Na'Vi just took advantage of time and time again. Getting that first crucial pick to be able to snowball the rest of the fight, set up into a position where you've already got all of the space for your Daredevil to work with, and Jerky having radar sense unmatched, allowing Na'Vi to just surgically prepare every single hit and timing onto Pulsar's retakes.
Well, Leg Day, you're my crisis glazer and analyst here. What are we kind of expecting to see from them adaptation-wise into our next map? It felt like they were trying to figure out exactly which hero to lock down.
Yeah, I think that we saw the rollout here with Lepsis Atilas having to play the Luna because they wanted Crisis and Twitzy to try and make the most of like the Pog aim with with Mantis and Adam. And I think in theory it's a composition that's got some legs to it, knowing that you're able to farm crits off the Devil Dinosaur, and obviously the healing from Adam can scale very linearly to the crits you're hitting with your primary fire, meaning that live stream continuously has a second taken off the cooldown, so you can continue to throw out that burst healing. But Pulsar, I'd love to see a world where maybe they try and match for 2-2-2. It feels like all the best teams right now aren't leaning as much on the triple strategist because there's just so much angle control you can work with when you've got two duelists who've got high mobility controlling the map for you. And that means that you've got to spend all the resources you get from playing triple strategist to try and take parts of the map away as a like cohesive unit. And when you have to move as a cohesive unit to try and deal with those map spaces, it means that you're losing space elsewhere.
Well, I'm curious to see where we head to elsewhere for our map 2. And well, the old faithful always, Museum of Contemplation. This is the most picked convoy map we have seen in this stage so far, Moxie.
Yeah, Museum of Contemplation coming through yet again. I mean, if they want to try and play for those greedy, aim-heavy backlines, Museum of Contemplation is a very strong showing for the defensive space that you have, and especially on the first fights, like being able to play around corners, and then once you breach those corners, having long line of sights, allowing for things like the Mantis and the Adam to continue to hammer damage on through. What I am concerned about, though, is that Museum of Contemplation is very, very strong for flank approaches. We already saw the Daredevil be problematic on Hell's Heaven. Not so much on Airfield or Super Soldier Factory, but very much on Eldritch Monument. Like, Jerky being able to have the perfect read of where Pulsar would position. If they don't address it in the ban draft, he's more than happy to pick up that duelist on this map.
Well, speaking of the band draft, we'll get quickly into it because both of these teams are locked and ready. Na'Vi looking for another sweep in their future. Pulsar, this could be their chance to bounce back exactly how they did against Virtus Pro. We'll see what they can do.
All right, details early in the draft will see if Pulsar once again dodge the Devil Dino Protect, which is probably the most interesting thing we've seen so far in a ban draft. For a lot of teams, it's been Gambit first ban, followed by the Devil Dinosaur Protect. Easy peasy, simple.
What do they decide to go with? Because yeah, like that one-sided Devil Dino is allowing Na'Vi to be able to match up with Pulsar's triple strategist sustainability, right? That Vanguard has so much brawl potential to just stay in the fight as long as possible and remove some of your players from it as well. Not being able to go for counter bites can be really, really rough in terms of being able to secure isolated players and lock picks down very quickly.
Being back here now, you know, unfortunately the map that was chosen was not the actual map that we're going to. We got baited here for a second, so Deadpool shenanigans going on in the background. I was very worried
when I saw Museum of Contemplation.
Yeah,
I was like,
against Na'Vi too, because like
Daredevil, I don't know if that's the greatest strategy you could go for.
Oh, so never mind. It is Museum. Okay.
It is Museum.
It is Museum. Okay, never mind. We're getting some wires crossed here. Wires crossed here.
Disappointment is real.
Your disappointment is still going to be as helpful as it can be, but hey, you know. We'll get into that map as quickly as we can. And yeah, I mean, as you guys were saying, you know, for the potential ban draft here, specifically the flanking ability of Na'Vi, we've seen them do so well in the past on this map specifically, especially with that Daredevil. I mean, do we see a Daredevil ban instead of a Black Cat priority at the start? I mean, you can still get the wall hacks with the Black Cat, so it's like it's a lose-lose scenario, it feels like here, Moxie.
It's flanking. Like, no matter what you ban out, unless you go for both of them, something's going to flank, and even then, if you remove the duelist, you still have to worry about the flanking vanguards. I mean, potentially that's what you're trying to bait Na'Vi into playing, so that you move away from playing front-to-back styling, which gives your vanguard line a little bit more room to be able to breathe if you don't go for the Dino Mirror yourself, but I feel like with the amount of things that Dino can do, like he's good for sustaining, he's brilliant for out-positioning, he's perfect for being able to match up against flyers with the grounding prospects of the focusing. Like, there's just not a lot of things that he's lacking. And even if you manage to chunk down him through that giant hitbox, if you have something like a rocket to bring him back, he just comes right back up, ready to keep the fight going.
I mean, speaking of getting right back up, we've seen a lot of Adam Warlock potential plays here. Maybe they felt confident on that composition that we've seen before for Pulsar going into this map specifically. If they can build it up fast enough for that revival, it could be a difference maker, but teams have been struggling to do it just that. Like, do they have a hope, or is Pulsar just going to get O2'd?
Pulsar do have a hope, but like they're going up against Natus Vincere. This is a very, very strong team as we head into our draft. Now, we'll see if maybe we see a pivot towards that Devil Dinosaur. Devil Dinosaur obviously having some very strong interactions with the shielders. Yep, there it is. Okay, Pulsar have changed course. You know what? That hero's pretty good. Give me one of those.
Yeah, it will be Dino Mirror potentially coming on through here, as Na'Vi actually using that second ban to remove the Luna. This, in the past, would be the Mantis, but as we've seen, like, team's more than happy to let the Mantis through to bait out a triple strategist line, as there's the save onto the Devil Dino for Rajara to be able to play, as Black Cat is removed, which means that if Jerky wants to play a dive duelist, it's likely going to come in the form of the Daredevil. Now, that's one of his hero prospects banned out. Do we see a second?
Okay, Jeff Landshark gone away. That's big respect to Fate, probably one of the primary pioneers. We might see a Daredevil Protect come through here from Natus Vincere to make sure that there is still options for Jerky when it comes to these flanks. But honestly, this can be a pretty strong front-to-back map, and Lunar Snow is just going to be a huge amount of triage and damage from the backline, which is going to be very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I don't think you really need to burn a ban on saving the Daredevil, because mostly it means that, like, Pulsar have to think about, is it worth banning the Daredevil? Jerky is a very flexible player, right? A lot of people were sort of looking at Na'Vi's team trying to work out where exactly Jerky fit into it. Well, he's just the jack of all trades. He can play literally everything, every role in the game, pretty much every duelist in the game as well. Having the Luna being able to empower your Emma, also play for things like the Luna White Fox, means that when Pulsar's turn is to use dive and flank potentials, you've got 3 lots of CC, off of only 2 heroes to be able to shut it down. As Pulsar go for a second save onto the Phoenix, and Na'Vi finish up the draft by taking out the Mantis, so the Gene doesn't have the constant damage boost to take one of their players down early.
Yeah, just making that poke a little bit safer to try and deal with. This might force Twitzy over towards a second duelist, though, which could give better angle control over to Pulsar. Captain America being missing means Vanguard Deadpool's probably going to be on the table here for Trust Me or Rajaro. They actually both can play either of those heroes, the Devil Dinosaur and the Vanguard Deadpool, so they're pretty happy for whatever happens.
Yeah, I think Na'Vi are one of those teams who saw a lot of value in going for a very flexible Vanguard line. Is, yeah, you spotted it, you scouted it, that's...
It's real?
That's actually coming through. I mean, remember, Na'Vi were the team who in preseason put Jerky on Hulk for 1 fight on defense. The Penny Parker might just be here for the first fight, but she does also have hard CC on a 3-second cooldown, which is insane. Plus, the brawling capability and the Penny Nests are going to make it very problematic for Pulsar to navigate players into a good position, although when you have the Moon Knight spam pressure, Generator should be broken fairly quickly.
Okay, Jerky's going to be picking up the Mantis today. Just keeping Terra damage boost. Of course, you've got to send over a bunch of damage boost to your Penny Parker to make sure that primary fire gets a little bit more dangerous. For Twitzy, though, they're fairly unconcerned. Just going to be throwing some Crescent Darts down main. Fate takes these audacious angles again and again, but can easily, obviously, teleport out using the Spirit Sanctuary to safety.
Terra's having such a fun time too. 60% to first final judgment on this Punisher. Na'Vi getting both the Mantis and the Loki as well means that regeneration domain isn't just a defensive cooldown, it's aggressive, and DRP melts.
Oh, sad Flora Colossus noises. That's a lot of mines to find at once, and wasn't ready for all of that damage.
DRP is off of the Groot onto the Emma, sees how close Na'Vi are holding, wants to be able to grab someone out of position with things like the Carbon Crush into Spinning Kick, but you're going to have to contest second fight already. Final Judgment regeneration domain is in play for Na'Vi if they decide to take the first turn. They do have to be cautious though. Twitzy with Hand of Khonshu takes advantage of the Loki.
You know what? The Penny also scales well against the Devil Dinosaur with the capacity to hit those crits as well, given that he's mostly crit box. You can see DRP is being a little bit annoying on this off angle, scouting out for that Cyberweb nest. But when you're starting to lose a poke battle to a damage boosted Penny, things get a bit complicated. Twitzy taken down by Terra after releasing the Hands of Khonshu. Up come a bunch of mines. Trust me, he's going to find themselves using the Spider time to get a bunch of overhealth. The survivability is strong. And now when you try and get into cover, you consistently bounce on up. The Ensong Inferno does manage to impact onto Terra. Lapsus Atilas confirms the frag there on the other side, and Ballas is inside the Cyberweb, so now has to move away onto the cart. Instead, Na'Vi plucked off his first corner.
Yeah, Ballas just overholds the Ensong Inferno. Cast animations though. Terra can't use the Final Judgment to shred the ultimate before it connects with the ground, and also finally break through first fight. They do have to worry about level 1 Crook though, having the copy potentially onto Jerky just to run Navi's players forward and try and put pressure, forcing Lapsus into going for a copy onto the invisible boundary.
Damage boosting lamps, dangerous to try and behold, and so too is the shotgun. Terra moving forward with Soul Resurgence, extra movement speed, very useful for a shotgun wielding character. But for now, Na'Vi, they're just going to be forced back. Here comes the second Soul Resurgence. This time, Na'Vi are going in for good. Hands of Khonshu to try and stop them, and it might well be good enough. Twitzy takes down level 1 Crook, a bunch of healing now missing for Na'Vi. They have to try and make up for the lack of it by unleashing the Kubiho and the Rampage. It's an absolute monster mash of beasts in the back as Na'Vi unleashed their inner wolves. Inside you were 2 wolves, and both of them think that Na'Vi have won this fight.
Greater ultimate economy off of Triple Strategist, just cycling through. Having the greater sustainability now allows them final fight territory potentially to hit that Final Judgment, because Pulsar, they'll have invisible boundary, but that's a static ultimate. It's not great to use in the overtime when you have to change your position constantly. DRP likely the opener with the Rampage just to run Pulsar's players forward. The Ensong for the pick potential, but they have to go fast. Terra just building up the charge of Final Judgment with the Punisher turret, getting really close to that ultimate. Needs to be shut down now.
will manage to get away scot-free. Ensong Inferno doesn't achieve anything. Blur taken down so fast. Damage boosted shotgun chews through Symbiote and Eddie Brock alike. And now the final judgment is ready to go. And guess what? There's not going to be an invisible boundary to deal with it. Crisis has already burned all the sustainability. Here comes the speed boost for damage boost as well. And you're even faster when you're on all the cyber whips that have been laid down by Trust Me. A victory road has been paved here by Captain My Captain. And Terra is more than happy to stomp on down it and stomp out Pulsar's attack.
That Punisher is really coming in strong in this meta. It feels like the speed that you build up these final judgments off of just soaking the damage of the Devil Dino on the other side. The fact that you always have as well damage boost, like 2 stacks of damage boost, because Na'Vi aren't having to hold on to regeneration domain and use it defensively. They can use it proactively, and that's always what Na'Vi have liked to do. They've loved this aggressive play of when Crook plays the Loki, even back in mid-season last year in the China LAN. We saw level 1 Crook literally just using the invisible state to accompany his vanguards and then use regeneration domain in the depths of their dive so they could hold their position, not go for a soft dive or a disruption dive, but look for the hard dive commit and take the Strategist down early.
30 seconds before you attack.
That's very difficult for Pulsar. And Na'Vi showing off some unique looks here. Who knows if this is from deep in the playbook? But honestly, Rojaro just demanding so much respect at the moment on the Devil Dinosaur. And that's allowing level 1 Crook to build up ultimates incredibly quickly as well, with the buffed up healing of the Loki doppelgangers, even if it did have their damage output nerfed. In particular, that might have been a nerf for level 1 Crook, who's a notoriously aggressive Loki.
I mean, if you look at it, Na'Vi only really lost 1 fight, and they knew that they'd have the ultimates to be able to regain, claw the space back with the final judgment. Pulsar, because they were full held, they have to go for a Starlight composition. It's the Loki, it's the Atom. You're trying to get on top of this as quickly as possible, but Terra going for the Duelist pool is actually going to be able to farm up this ultimate faster with the Loki in play, because Deadpool is actually the only character in this game who builds up ult charge off of Loki clones.
And Ballast builds up ult charge off of hitting every shot. That's not the only player who does that, but he's a pretty special case.
I mean, that's a crucial first fight win for Pulsar. Like, it's a race for them right now. Get the Loki ultimate online to copy the Atom, and potentially bleed players when Na'Vi get these picks to bring them back with copied res. They'll get the actual res online, but it's going to be a long road ahead of them. They have to get so many picks in the neutral, Harry, just to get those ults online.
So 4 duelists here for Na'Vi. We're going to put that one in the box. Level 1 Crook moves away from a Daredevil and picks up the Luna so that Rajro and Trust Me can receive a regular amount of healing. Now onto 2-2-2. Na'Vi, the time for trolling is over. The time for attacking has begun.
Terra's still fully behind Pulsar's backline, by the way. We'll be able to meet up with the Dive coming on through with the Swords ulti for the extra survivability and sustain in the fight. Twitzy goes down early. Has to use the regeneration, the Cocoon, to come back into this fight so that Lapsus gets the God of Mischief chance to copy onto the Atom.
Alright, Jerky gets Fast Sentient stolen temporarily. Trust Me's falling low. The healing should come through rather quickly, but Symbolic Resilience does need to be used. DRP taken away from a point. The Ensong Inferno lands down on top of it as Ballast loads back into reality to keep this one contested. Inside of the invisible boundary drawn up by Flights. Things are very dangerous, and the danger only increases as Trust Me arrives with the amplification of the cosmic yarn pumping through their veins. A last chance recontest off the back of a portal is going to be too late to arrive, and Na'Vi dominate on the Museum of Contemplation.
Oh, that's brutal for Pulsar's backline. Twitzy got picked. Has to use the Cocoon to come back into the fight. Gets picked a second time and goes down. So even when you have God of Mischief coming into play, Lapsus just does not get the opportunity to use it. They have to rely then on the actual invisible boundary, but you lose the invisible woman again, which means that again your Loki loses the chance for a copy, and you lose the map with God of Mischief still in play. And I mean, that's not like a misplay coming on through from Pulsar, that's just really smart target focus coming on through from Na'Vi, going for the backline to deny copy targets and mean that you can win out the fight when the ult's still in play.
This is just a rough going of it, unfortunately, for Pulsar. They got the Na'Vi special on Museum of Contemplation instead of the Spider-Man and Black Panther that we saw last time. It was the dual pool that came out this go around for Terra. Just trying to see, you know, what new heroes they can have 100% wins out there. Penny Parker as well. I mean, this just goes to show, like, that Na'Vi are feeling in their element, on top of the world, unchallengeable by the teams that they faced so far. I mean, Rad, of course, was the team who took down VP. Pulsar took a map off of VP. They 2-0 swept them. This is more of a statement than anything.
Yeah, for Na'Vi, this is definitely a statement of dominance, but also it's good to see that, like, the Spirits are high in the Na'Vi campaign. They can do a little bit of trolling. They can roll out on their quadruple duelist. Like, you know what? If they're playing Spawn Hub, we're going to break it with the solo heal Rocket building up the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier. We'll put level 1 Kruk on Daredevil. Why not? Bro knows how to run the streets. And honestly, I think that they adapted well. Like, they moved over to a 2-2-2 eventually, but I think there was still some merit to rolling out with the 4 duelists to try and overwhelm anything that's a little bit closer, knowing that attrition in terms of like trades 1-for-1 would be on their side when they're so close to their spawn.
Also, just looking, you know, at Terra specifically compared to the group stage preseason and now, Moxie, it feels like just more confidence than ever with this roster. It seemed like, you know, there was that butting of heads that we talked about, and now really locked in on their performance. But trust me, the MVP at this go around.
Yeah, not surprising. Trust Me was the player who actually came in with that second pick on Twitzy, which stuck after you were able to foresight the self-res coming on through from the Atom, being able to play the Venom. A very flexible character and hero pool for Trust Me, so that we can really like see Na'Vi, the flexibility of this team is just wild. I think, like, out of everyone in all of the regions, Na'Vi are up there in terms of just not being able to fully ban them out. And as we've seen here and in week 1, totally different compositions coming through from them. They even said it in preseason, they were okay with dropping maps, even matches in the group stages of playoff preseason, because they didn't want to reveal all of the compositions they could play. And that's always been something that Na'Vi have been able to rely on, the flexibility of not fully revealing all of their strategies, because they have such depth to their character pools.
I mean, we were talking about this leg day going into this matchup, specifically on this map, saying maybe not the best pick against a team like Na'Vi. They are very studied on Museum of Contemplation. You can see exactly why. If they're comfortable to play a Penny Parker in pro play, then they can play anything.
Yeah, and having that Penny Parker means that, like, as Mox was talking about, how do you draft against this team? Like, they don't really have hero pools. They've got like hero oceans, I think would probably be a more accurate term, especially for Jerky and Terra in particular, who are incredibly flexible duelists. Of course, Terra has been an evergreen champion since the genesis of Marvel Rivals competitive. Terra has been at the top regardless of the meta, and I think that Jerky's flexibility, not only within the duelist role, but having vanguards and strategists as well, has been a big part of why Na'Vi have been evergreen when it comes to their own viability between multiple metas.
I'm really curious once we get to this interview on hearing their thoughts, you know, preparation going into this and then actual results that came through. I'm sure they were kind of expecting more of a fight against Pulsar. I mean, we probably all were as well after seeing their performance against Virtus Pro, taking that map and keeping it very close in the last one, actually forcing them to figure out their composition in real time. But Moxie, while we wait for this too, I mean, I think the big thing that we've seen for Na'Vi is that they've just locked in even more with the prep time from last week into this one.
Yeah, Na'Vi are a team that is very dangerous to give them time. If they can sort of like look at how the meta is headed and how their opponents are going to play, they can devise very good strategies at being able to shut things like that down or get ahead of the other teams so they can start leading and determining the meta themselves. And I think that's something that we're going to start seeing more and more of. The fact that we're going to be having some teams that you can split into the camp of will engineer new compositions, as opposed to teams who are maybe a little bit slower in terms of building up, but very, very fast when they do catch on, and Na'Vi definitely falling into the first camp.
Well, especially not having to play against like a weird comp team like Heretics in the group stage. It feels like they are just unleashed against the competition there, specifically in their group as well. I mean, looking towards the future here, leg day to the potential matchups, right? Tomorrow they have Alter Esports, then they have Lions for Friday next week, and then their big matchup against Virtus Pro. And I feel like if they faced right now, it'd still be kind of a one-sided affair here. I don't know about you, leg day.
Yeah, I think the Virtus Pro are happy to have the extra time to kind of get it together, figure out how they want to interact with this meta. For Alter Esports, it's going to be a very rough debut without team captain, who was obviously a big part of the explosive potential for that team. We do have level 1 Crook, though, so let's have a quick chat with a champion.
Yeah, welcome in, Crook. You guys are now 2-0 up in your group, specifically taking down 2 tough opponents. I mean, did you guys expect the speed at which you came out with the victory for this matchup, or did you think it'd be a closer fight?
No, we 100% prepared like this. I mean, we didn't prepare much, but we knew that we were gonna win. No big hassle.
You guys brought out some Penny Parker, a rarity in competitive Marvel Rivals. What do you think Penny Parker brings to some of these team comps?
It's specifically good into Dino, and trust me, has been practicing it a lot. And I mean, you see how much they struggle. If you go into a triple support and to Loki, so we have the big lambs, they can't really develop into us because wherever they go, they're gonna step into mines. So it's generally just a hard matchup for them to play. And they also don't have a lot of practice into it, which just gives us the big advantage there.
So, speaking about the triple strategist, all day today it feels like we've been seeing teams trying to pick up triple strategist and falling apart to the 2-2-2 compositions. As a strategist main yourself, where do you feel triple strategist currently sits in the meta? Is it as strong as it was, or is it finally on the down?
Well, it's still good. It very much depends on the bans. It's like a back and forth. There's Ultron triple. Star-Lord is really good into that. Rocket is really good into that. Usually Rocket gets banned nowadays. Then there's Loki triple. Black Cat is really good into that. So if you ban our Black Cat, then the Loki triple gains a lot of strength. But Dino is also kind of good into Black Cat. So that's why you kind of see it, because right now the heroes that you want to ban are exactly the ones that enable triple support, because they overall have more strength. So they're just a more valuable ban in the game. And then you end up back on the triple, because when those heroes are banned, that's what's the best hero to pick, pretty much.
Well, my final question for you here, Crook, is why do you think teams are struggling so much to adapt to this meta compared to what we've seen in previous seasons of Ignite?
Well, the game gets more complicated with every new hero added. At this point, there's like 40 heroes, I believe, in the game. I'm not quite sure about that number. But every time it gets shuffled up. And Dino especially was a big change, right? Because Dino is super strong. That means he takes a major part in the new meta. Sometimes some heroes don't really have that effect on the game. But this one really shook it up. And that's why, especially in this group stage where people didn't get too much experience, it's very rough for them to adapt. But as it usually goes with these tournaments, by the time playoffs come around, it's going to settle down and people are going to have their preferred bans, depending on what team they play. And they just adjust based by that. But right now, of course, it's quite a big mess.
Well, I appreciate the insight, Crook. Thank you for joining us and congratulations on your win. Good luck in your match against Alter Esports tomorrow.
Thank you. I think we'll need it. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. I mean, I think there's a little sarcasm there against Alter Esports based on the results that we've seen so far. Of course, still a great team out there. But I mean, talking about, you know, the insight that we got there at the end, Moxie, is showing, you know, why some teams might be struggling with triple strategists, but also just figuring out exactly where the meta lies.
Ban draft. It's all coming back down to the ban draft from the signs of it. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time, I think, for teams to be able to work out where meta goes.
Well, we do have the updated group standings here after today's action. All sweeps across the board, as you see Heretics and Shikigami kind of going back to where we expect them from their pre-season results. Same for Na'Vi on their end as well. Pulsar, unfortunately, 0-2 and still looking for their win. So I feel like it's going to be kind of a battle between Rad, Lions, Pulsar, and Alter for Group A here, leg day, to see who can make that playoff stage.
Yeah, it's anybody's game, but my goodness, that fourth spot is going to be hotly contested for Group A. Definitely feels like Na'Vi They are in a fantastic position right now. They're looking incredibly strong. They're probably going to have an absolute barn burner against Virtus.pro, but it is their last game, which gives Virtus.pro quite a bit of runway to try and work with us. They're going to certainly step up their way towards being able to challenge Na'Vi once again.
Another team that does great with prep time, so I'm really excited to see that as, you know, the final series for both of those teams. Shout out to production for actually coordinating that too. But Group B on this side of things too. I mean, Fire Strays, Chosen Ones, Crownfall, a lot to look forward to there, but we'll talk about that later on. We have the schedule available now for you guys to look at for tomorrow's matchups, and some pretty important ones here, Moxie.
Yeah, some very important ones. I feel like for VP versus Rad, it's going to be really important to see if one, Virtus.pro continue having the curse of teams named Rad beating them. Especially since this is redemption, potentially, for Virtus.pro, right? Rad were the team that knocked them out in preseason playoffs early on. The fact that Virtus.pro came 6th, ruining everyone's preds, but that's also literally the lowest they've placed in a team competition since the very start and even before of Rivals Esports. So there's a lot on the line, not in terms of like group placements. I'm pretty sure Virtus.pro with a 2-0 win track already have that spot pretty much secured. It's much more against just gaining that honor that you've lost back.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to see them bounce back in that matchup specifically and what Rad can do against them. And then the rest of the teams for Crownfall, Ultra Esports, and potentially Chosen Ones, they kind of have their work cut out for them. Reason, of course, though, do need to lock in here. Again, we saw where they could have gotten into the playoffs last time and missed out by a single game loss against Crownfall. So every game, every matchup matters. And, well, my cat also has some words for you guys, too. But, you know, that 2-0 sweep across the board for today, I'm hoping at least for tomorrow we'll see some more competitive matchups, but that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to day 1 of week 2 for stage 1 of EMEA Ignite. We'll see you with Americas later on tonight.